Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Smite Console League presented by Smite Prime. I'm Culture, joined by Sin4 with Jithens, as always, faithfully observing here for Smite Prime. And we have Big Money Esports versus Venedicts Cavalry in this best of 3. And if you've been following the Smite Console League, Big Money Esports, they're the number 2 team in their division. It's PS4 North America. Venedicts Cavalry at the bottom at this point in time, 2-8. And really, honestly, MSI is locked up. Nemesis is the one going, but remember that every single win counts toward the end of the year where everyone's working toward High-Res Expo and the World Championships. And Sin4, what are you expecting out of both these teams' matchups, especially after having a chance to kind of peruse the compositions for both teams?
Just looking at Venedicts Cavalry right off the bat, they seem to have a lot of early pressure, except for kind of in the dual lane with that Shibalanke. His clear is it's okay early, but I think late game with a Fafnir in hand, that's going to be a pretty scary X-Ball. Whereas I see red team with the Circuit Poseidon with the Naja and their Circuit having a lot of setup for the Poseidon, even on the side of the Kumba as well. If I were blue team, I would be really careful in the jungle in the early game because there's a good chance you're not going to walk out with your life.
And speaking of the early game, we are already seeing the 2v2 here in the solo. That type of strategy is still being played, and Waddle is going extremely low because of it's a Fafnir Bologna, so really hard to deal with that level of pressure, even though you have a Kumbhakarna to join you, and they're still whacking away each other in this solo 2v2. I don't know if anyone's going to pick up a kill early, but Waddle does get hit by the full channel of the 2 from the Bologna, and they'll be pushed on the turret. In the dual lane, I mean, it was the Erlong Shin rotating over to give X-Ball some help. I really want to focus this mid lane matchup, though, Sin4, because we don't really get to see the Poseidon first, and then also the, I haven't seen her in so long, I can't remember the guy's name, but it doesn't matter because right now we have Cripple coming in from Panda mid. They found a 4v2, and it looks like Venedicts Cavalry is in trouble.
Yeah, the Spirit Ball does come out from the Isis, as you were trying to mention before.
Thank you.
She brings a lot of early pressure, especially wave clear with her wing gust. So yeah, it really is an interesting matchup, and it's also kind of like Isis brings really great team fight, but it's also really dangerous, I think, to play Isis into this Poseidon matchup. She can't be knocked up in her wind gust, so I guess she could try to get out of the Kraken. But as soon as Poseidon hits 5, Isis needs to be careful because they're going to be looking for her. She doesn't have an Aegis. She only has the beads. If he gets a good Kraken, she's gone.
I do hope that they focus on doing exactly what you said, getting Lunatic ahead of Panda mid before maybe trying to find a kill on this Poseidon, because Isis is great for early lane pressure just because of her wave clear, but as you said, there is no way for her to really get out of a lot of this CC, a lot of this damage coming from the mid lane. I mean, looking at the entire composition of Big Money Esports, it's really, really dangerous for her. This X-Ball has a little bit of protection, but really if you're complacent, when you have a Naja on top of you in any composition with a Circuit to follow up, I mean, it's going to be really hard to dodge out of the Kraken damages. We're just seeing a lot of fighting going on in this solo lane, and it's expected with the way they're playing this, but right now, Venedicts Cavalry, I think what's more surprising is that they have the advantage given their team's record and how they've been doing so far in the SCL.
Yeah, over on this right side here, I really do think that these supports might be staying in a little too long. We saw this in Smite Prime, and we're seeing it here. I think that if you want to make more of an impact over on the side of the map, like the idea is to keep the support in solo sides so that buffs don't really get invaded. Like for example, speed or blue, but Bologna actually falling down there to Waddle over on the right side, and I mean that can happen too. You let a god like Najah get to level 3, and you're just causing problems for yourself with that ring bounce. So I really would like to see some of these supports rotate out of solo. And not staying for too long on these waves, because I feel like they could make a lot of impact in mid. And speaking of mid, Poseidon waiting for them to go on these mid camps. He has ultimate. You already know what he's looking for.
He decides to back off for now. That's because Privative, who might have been able to join him, is already at half health. So, and also didn't have ultimate, so doesn't go for that engage. But going back to that kill over in the solo lane, I just think that they overestimated, if you're Venedicts Cavalry, the damage, and the lockdown is actually Lunatic. The Kraken is popped trying to take care of this Isis, but Panda just isn't able to follow through. The Cripple wasn't able to lock him down to get that full Kraken damage, and he's able to escape alive.
Yeah, Isis didn't even actually have to use beads there, which is really nice. Because future Poseidon ults are most definitely, if red team's playing this right, future Poseidon ults are most definitely going to have set up beforehand. So with those beats, she should be able to get away from someone like Cat or Kumba, hopefully, and not fall to the Kraken. But just, yeah, unfortunate there for Panda mid, not be able to clean up that kill under the tower. Isis is a rather fast god. With her silence and stun, she can kind of peel for herself quite a bit. So he's certainly not someone you want to deal with later in team fights. The heal on her ult, as well as the damage, I don't think people realize, because like you mentioned earlier, Isis isn't really a god who gets played a lot. And if a team isn't going to expect the damage or the healing that comes out of an Isis ult, they're certainly going to be in a lot of trouble, because she can turn a fight with that ultimate ability.
Especially playing it into the Poseidon, that big damage yield, at least the biggest burst damage yield they really have on the side of Big Money Esports. And if Lunatic can drop it at the right time, it can pretty much negate that Kraken damage and make sure that everyone lives through that ultimate. And speaking of that Kraken, now that it's down, I want to see Venedicts Cavalry make more moves around the map. You have the biggest ultimate you have in the early game is gone, and you can try and be more aggressive. It looks like they're just not going to really do so in the solo lane. For the very least, Legendary is pushed up on this Bologna, but around the rest of the map, Big Money Esports seem to still have a lot of control.
Yeah, I think it really is going to come down to this 3v3 in mid, and who can do a bit more with the primitive actually here. Maybe looking for a gank over onto the left side, wrapping around. I don't think, no, he didn't pass over a ward, although he might have passed over a ward in mid, but pings coming out from blue team. They recognize either way that Cat might be looping around to that dual lane side, and X-Ball backs up. Going to be safe.
And I know that there's not, it's only about 7 minutes in. There's not a lot of action going on. Considering how explosive SCL can be, and especially just how teamfight oriented it seems Smite is right now as a game, just the state of the game, which team, in as far as scaling, do you think works better? Because if it's Big Money Esports basically trying to make sure that no action is happening around the map right now, which is what it looks like is going on, do you think that they are a better fit for scaling with the Poseidon with this Jing Wei? Or does Venedicts Cavalry have a better time? We already talked about how the Isis doesn't scale well, but they do have a Bologna, and they do have an X-Ball to follow that up and at least match up that 2v2 in damage.
I think what Big Money Esports needs to do is start looking for some more picks, or maybe get a good rotation out of their solo laner. The entire idea, now that I think about it, behind blue team's comp, they have a Fafnir, they have an Isis. It's so extremely hard to outsecure an Isis on Gold Fury because of the damage from her ultimate. And with the healing, they can still almost even turn the fight, because it'll heal up all the damage taken from the objective, especially when it comes to Fire Giant. I think that blue team is really going to be looking for objective calls here, and swift objective calls. So if I were red team, I'd be putting wards around that Gold Fury and looking for picks as blue team tries to set up for an objective siege, because it's going to be really hard for them to win a 5v5 fight, especially if blue team feels like they had the advantage, or if they do have the advantage.
Already, Big Money Esports, they're at least carving out an early advantage for themselves. They have the gold and the experience lead so far. However, the first backs did come through for Lunatic, Houseplant. I believe Neximus is about to recall as well, so they're going to have first dibs on items. I don't know how many members of Big Money Esports has recalled right now, but just looking down the board, it looks like the Devo's Gauntlet already finished in favor of the X Ball. Answered back, but overall, I think honestly, with a Shibalanke, I feel a lot better with my Shibalanke having that early Devo's Gauntlet than my Jingwei because he just has so many more tools to work with, even just on one item, than the Jingwei, who really takes a couple to really scale up as Lunatic throws out a stun and it hits to Panda mid, going extremely low. Has to be careful. The Ice ultimate is dropped, and Hakumba should fall here eventually. He's into the passive, and they do pick that one up. That'll be first blood, or actually not first blood, my bad. Already went down over to the one side. That'll be a return kill, though, going over to Venedicts Cavalry.
Yeah, that was a beautiful 3v3 fight there. Really great rotation. Added the Erlong. I think he was posturing for that right blue invade maybe, but he kind of loops around, gets the taunt. Great ult. Well, great ults from all of them. The Erlong taunt, excuse me, into the Isis ult just immediately blows up the Kumba. And the Fafnir, I really think that people underestimate Fafnir, or maybe the Fafnir ult. A lot of people use it to play aggressive, but sometimes you just have to sit there and turn into the dragon because no one is going to walk into that circle, especially a squishy Poseidon. So just a great 3v3 there from Blue Team picking up a kill for themselves.
But now it looks like Big Money Esports has a potential to pick up a kill of their own, as you did see the X-Ball ultimate being thrown out there to try and buy some time for Legendary, and he's a Bologna. He likes to box, and he buys enough time for the rotation to come through. That will be Daniel Perez now on this early chin here, and Lunatic also rotated to provide extra damage. But there are two more members of Big Money Esports trying to follow through. But very smartly, Venedicts Cavalry, they just walk back on a turret, go for the recalls. They might lose this blue buff. No, it's actually already fallen, so they're going to actually get out of this with not nary a consequence against them.
Yeah, really great job by Bologna there to live for as long as she did. She actually Bologna ulted away from the Nejal, which would have taken her up in the air and probably would have set up for an easy kill for Red Team. And now Waddle in a little bit of trouble, but Ice is up in the air and she's going to have to pop that ultimate ability.
She's thrown it down one more time. They almost had Waddle with the chain CC, but not just yet. And Panda mid joins from throws down the Kraken. Waddle's able to clean it up, so Panda joining in at the right time, lays down the damage, and Waddle follows it up to get the kill. Big Money Esports finding another one here on this right side, and it looks like Legendary wants to look for more. He did have a whole ton of damage eaten before. It looks like he has Houseplant to follow through. The stun is there. The ticks are there as well, but no kills, and so Big Money Esports still finding ways to expand their gold lead despite Venedicts Cavalry doing the best they can to start fights. They're just not ending them very well.
Yeah, just kind of a sloppy fight, and I think the story of that fight is just Venedicts Cavalry staying too long. I think the Poseidon was actually able to push a wave in mid and still make the rotation over to get that Kraken off, and he cleans up the Isis. And she's got no beads because she kind of ate that Kumba ult to the face, and once her ultimate was down, she was kind of fair game for that Poseidon. Not much that she could do there either. She also kind of walked into the jungle, which may have been a misplay as far as positioning on her part, but overall, pretty good 1K gold lead for Red Team here. They're doing a really good job. Oh, I was about to say defending their buffs, or actually, no, that was an invade. My bad. They're doing a really good job invading that blue over on the right side, trying to keep that Naja down. And the Naja is the one who should make a good rotation on a Gold Fury fight, but Naja's too far behind. He's gonna blow up.
Has their hands full with Legendary. I mean, doing what Bologna does best, absorbing damage, proxy farming, taking away buffs, and now they're going to go ahead and take this Pyromancer as well. It looks like on the other side of the map, though, Big Money Esports will respond by taking this Gold Fury. There's not a lot of people there to challenge them. The rotations will be too late from the Erlong Shin and from the Isis. And Privative is trying to keep Neximus away. It will force out the ultimate from the X-Ball. He wants to go aggressive, but the stun does not land on the Privative, so a good job there of dodging out. And Houseplant can't find anybody as well. Even if he does, it will just be Hakumba. He doesn't have the passive, though, so he could fall here. Oh, never mind. The passive is there. He does fall, so they do pick up one on the end of it, Venedicts Cavalry, to trade for the Gold Fury, but Big Money Esports still picking up that objectives, gives them the 1,000 gold lead. And real quick on Lunatic, I want to highlight something. Sin4, he's picked up one of the mask items. Oh, I want to ask you, why do you think he picked it up on Isis? We haven't seen it in a while. He has the Book of Thoth, has that one, but a fight's about to break out, and Conviction has been caught.
Yeah, a little bit of trouble here over on the red buff. Looks like they're just looking for the cheeky invade after the Gold Fury fight there. They know a lot of the ultimates are down. They're not too scared to try and do something. But looks like Isis. Yeah, Isis will be fine. But yeah, back to your question. It looks like she is going to pick up the mask, and I do have a feeling that this will be a Boomba's mask. I guess the reasoning is Isis isn't exactly the most mobile god. Maybe a little bit more movement speed will help out. Along with all the self-peel, she actually would be pretty hard to lock down overall. So Boomba's might not be a bad idea.
And there she goes. She has to drop the ultimate again. Privative is low on the... Trying to get away from Kumbhakarna. Will be able to do... Stun wasn't on enough to line up anything for Panda mid, but they're still trying to chase the fight a bit. It looks like nobody will go down for either side as Big Money Esports is claiming land in the enemy jungle, but Houseplant gets caught up by Panda mid. The cripple into the Kraken means a kill for the mid laner, and he did it all by himself. And Big Money Esports flexing their muscles, showing why they're the #2 team here in the SCL PS4 North American division. It's for reasons like that when Panda mid can just solo out an enemy support of all things.
Yeah, really, really great rotation by the Poseidon there, and Expo actually in a little bit of trouble over on the left side. He's going to have to back. I want to go back to the 2 objectives that we're taking just a little bit earlier. Blue team did exactly what I said they were going to do, and what you should be doing with this comp. I just think that they did it on the wrong objective. They kind of elected to go straight to the Pyromancer there, and I would have liked to see them just go straight to gold, because I don't think red team is too worried about a Pyromancer. They called it, and so red team immediately gets a Gold Fury because they don't care about Pyromancer at all. The thought was there. I just think they executed on the wrong objective. They could have easily done the same thing at a Gold Fury. I mean, Bologna has a lot of pressure up in the right side. Could have proxy made a good rotation there, but might see a little bit of action here in the mid lane.
And I could only assume that maybe they thought that there was just no vision on the Pyro, so Big Money Esports didn't know that what was going on, but Privative called it out. They rotated over, and Venedicts, they have a better team fight early right now. They have so much setup, and King Neximus and Lunatic can pump out the damage, and Legendary can just be that guy. As look in the jungle, right there, the perfect example. Lunatic finds a kill from the setup, and now Conviction's in trouble. It looks like Privative want to join from the back end, but all he'll be able to do is potentially not even steal the red buff, but as you said, they just focused the wrong objective, and they gave over a free Gold Fury, but now they're trying to make up for it by executing on other fights, and they're keeping it relatively even, and I think they have a very good chance of winning this as Waddle is found by Legendary on his blue buff again. Bologna doing a great job of trying to find this one over and over.
Yeah, great stuff out of the Bologna there. Like I said, I think she could be making a lot more use of her lead. But still, either way, all these successful invades trying to punish the Naja, who could be causing a lot of problems for her backline and these upcoming team fights. So good on blue team to do that. But Big Money Esports really seems to always have an answer to the pressure that blue team exerts, fighting return kills or return buff invades, things like that. They're playing this the way that they should. They're keeping even, they're taking good fights, and they're 2K up because of it. So not much criticism about there. I'd like to see them keep playing the smart, especially when it comes to some more objectives. But over here in left, Expo in a lot of trouble, really struggling to fight this Jing Wei, especially early, and Conviction doesn't know quite which way to go, and he's going to go ahead and kill that ward down there on the left side.
He has stopped the recall, though. He could try and burn him down. Over here on the Pyromancer, Venedicts Cavalry securing that one again. Dana Perez has been stunned up by the Kumbhakarna. Can he get out? He went into turn form, but the sash does land. A double stun coming in, though, from the Isis on the backside while she was running away. 360 no scope will save his life. And on top of that, the ultimate from the Bologna will make sure that their escape is certain. So a great job of securing it this time. And again, Big Money Esports, though, they're just going to go for the Primal Fury and trade with that. However, Venedicts Cavalry should be here in time to try and contest.
Yeah, I don't know why blue team keeps doing this. Oh, wait.
They stole it.
That.
They
That
stole
was a
it. And
Fafnir
the
hammer.
X-Ball stun. The Fafnir hammer with the X-Ball stun, they still get out, but Venedicts doing a good job on that rotation. That was just great. Big Money Esports, beside maybe making sure that the Fafnir can't get in, but who would have guessed the Fafnir hammer was going to steal that away from them? So that's just a good job by the blue side, just making a great rotation.
Yeah, I was just about to say, I don't know why blue team keeps going to the Pyromancer and blowing all of their ults on that one, but I guess it works out. Really, really rough one for the red team. Fafnir hammer, an ability that can be blocked. So don't know why someone didn't just step in front of it, but not a huge deal. The game's a little bit more evened up, but I don't know. Big Money Esports is in a little bit more trouble here. I really think that as soon as Red Team knew that Venedicts Cavalry was burning that Pyromancer again, they should have gone to the Gold Fury, because this Jingwei is huge. She has an Xe online. That Gold Fury should be nothing for her at all. She should be able to shred that quite easily, especially with help from a Poseidon. So that should have been a free Gold Fury. I don't think that Fafnir should have been able to get there as quickly as he did in the first place. I think it should have been done.
You know what? Despite all that, though, we're about to hit 20 minutes, 3-3, and Big Money Esports still has a gold lead. So while that still did happen, and that means that later on they will be able to do more damage to things like Fire Giant, I believe that's the one, to things like Fire Giant to more Gold Furies in the future. I think they'll be fine with that. Doesn't mean that they get any harder pushing minions from something like an Oni Fury, which would be a lot harder to deal with later in the game with that push, especially now that you have 3 of the Gladiator minions pushing. As Waddle takes the Bellona up into the air, Panda mid's here for the catch, and the Kraken is there. Bellona does use her ultimate to try and escape, but I don't know if Legendary can get out. The X-Ball ultimate will be there to try and secure the way out of there. So that's actually 3 ultimates, at least 2 used by Big Money Esports, not able to find a kill on the Legendary.
Yeah, this Bellona is just so huge at this point. It's going to be really hard to kill her, even with the Poseidon. Oh, he's going to need an Ob Shard. I think if he wants to take down the likes of her, and Blue Team might actually be able to siege this right lane here, but Cat was looking to go on the Isis. Found that maybe it wasn't the safest idea, and the Fafnir definitely wouldn't have let it happen either.
And there were no real heavy damage ultimates from Venedicts Cavalry available, but there was the Isis ultimate, as you said, which could have delayed long enough for the rotations. As you talked about that Bellona being huge, she has a shield, she has another defense item, and the Berserker shield, so you're right, she's near impossible to kill at this point, even with 3 people. It's going to take a long time, and when that comes into play, you have to think about the distraction game, about if she's split pushing, we're taking this on to kill her, what is the rest of her team doing around the map while we're doing all this? And right now, it's taking down the Fire Giant. They start it, but it might have been just to get a pick. As you look, and it will be Waddle being taken extremely low, has used the Windfire Wheels just to escape, and they're going to go ahead and die for this one. Houseplant is in Dragon form, which means he can take a lot of turret damage, and he has the Isis ultimate for the healing, so they should be able to find this kill. It took them a minute, and that means that the rest of Big Money Esports can try and rotate through, but a perfect timing on the end of the ultimate from Houseplant means he doesn't get stunned up by Hokumba.
Yeah, and blue team still might be able to see just over on the right side. Serket heading back mid. Oh, no, she's turning back around. Still a 4v3 in the favor of blue team. They do need to be careful. If Serket's a good pick on the backside here, this could be very detrimental for blue team, but I don't think it matters because Kuma is 1 HP and there's nothing he can do. Serket, though, looking for Isis on the backside, not going to find anything.
He somehow escapes, and now everyone on Big Money is making a mad chaos as Primitive was left alone in a 1v3. Hokumba barely lived. Panda mid was trying to run away. Now he's trying to rotate back to help his jungler. He does throw out the Kraken, and the ultimate from Primitive follows through, but Neximus with the Rising Jaguar will escape and pick up a kill on his way out. So 5-3, Venedicts Cavalry taking it to Money Esports, and they're not looking like a 2-8 team as Daniel Perez picks up another one onto the Poseidon.
Yeah, really great team fight from blue there. They got a great siege onto the tower, turn around, helped their Isis away from that Serket. I was wondering if the Isis was going to finish that Boomba's mask early. but I think they're electing to keep the extra damage. They don't want the damage reduction from Boombas that early. It kind of, I think it would really hurt the ISIS pick, especially on the objectives. So just electing to get the benefits for it for now, but no, that was already a pretty fast ISIS, and so it could be really hard to lock down. But now this is what I wanted Blue Team to be doing. Pop the Fafnir ult. They're going to pop the ISIS ult. Unless they mess up, there's no way Big Money Esports can.
And that's exactly what happens. They don't take it, and now Waddle's left all alone, and he should fall here very soon. Next, picking up that kill on the back end. Hakumba slowly going to fall over to Lunatic. A great stun landing, which means that the passive will be popped, but he does have Privative there to protect, and Lunatic doesn't want to go too far forward, not until Houseplant gets there, but he times the stun up perfectly again, so it doesn't even matter if the passive comes all the way through. On the other side of the map, though, Conviction here on the left is going to take a tower to try and respond, but I still think Big Money Esports will take that Fire Giant any day of the week. They have a gold lead if you're Venedicts Cavalry. I'm sorry, not Big Money. Venedicts Cavalry have a gold lead, experience lead up 8-3 as we're passing the 24-minute mark, and now they can look to try and push. And it's an ISIS, it's a Bologna, it's an X-Ball. They push pretty damn well with this composition.
Yeah, and like I said at that Fire Giant, they played that perfect. That's exactly what they needed to do. I know that they lost 2 towers over on the left side, but really beautiful playing of that comp on the Fire Giant. I mean, Fafnir Coerce on the group as well as the secure from Ice Assault. Unless Red Team pulls out a miracle, there's legit nothing that they're going to be able to do there. X-Ball providing so much shred as well. Looks like someone has the sensitivity on their controller turned up all the way and spinning in some circles waiting for their team to show up. Maybe a little bit tilted that their team isn't grouping up and left when that is obviously the call.
See, that's the cool thing about console is I don't know if you could do that on PC. I just don't. I mean, I've never had my mouse sensitivity up that high to even try it out. But on console, you just can rotate that analog stick and just do crazy, stupid things like that while you wait for your wave and entertain everybody that happens to catch you on camera.
Yeah, now, for sure, putting on a little show. But they are going to siege the tier 2 here, and I think they play this right. Blue team should be able to get this for free, but Naja actually wrapping around the backside.
Has to be very careful. Wall is here. The ult does come through X-Ball, though, so that will be a very dead Naja. I think they even have vision on ultimate to come off cooldown to use it to make sure the kill was secured, and now they're going to go for the turret. They have Conviction stunned up. He's low, and Lunatic wants the rest of the kill. This Isis is online. She is huge, and while we said in the mid to late game she's not the best, when you have a lead like this, it doesn't really matter. 6,000 gold up, and they're going to be pushing for a Phoenix in a 4v5 situation. And I don't really think there's a damn thing that Big Money Esports can do about it. Hakumba tries to find something. Panda mid does actually pop the Kraken. They weren't very careful. They forgot how much damage he can do. And now Conviction finds a kill, and that will send Venedicts Cavalry packing. They find a stun. That will be Houseplant trying to buy time for the rest of his team. But Big Money Esports says, hold on now. We're not out of this. We were just trying to take time to scale up and get out of the hyperbolic time chamber. And they found 4 kills with almost a team wipe, and that goal just shrank, and Big Money Esports is back in it.
Yeah, talk about a turnaround. What a great fight and Kraken there. I was kind of worried when I saw that fight start to break out because Blue Team did use 3 ultimates on the one Neja. I know they got a really nice pick off of it, but if I were them, I would have taken that tier 2 and left, conceded the Phoenix, and gone maybe for a tier 2 seed. Phoenix siege like that, especially when the Poseidon can kind of just get that position to Kraken over the wall like that. He forces the Aegis onto the Isis, and he basically one-shots the X-Ball on the back line for free. So just not a good fight for Blue Team there. They really should have played safe there and gone for the tier 2. And now Red Team in a pretty good position, starting to even up the gold. I know it's starting not to matter at this point, approaching the 30-minute mark, but Red Team can definitely make a really good defense at this Fire Giant, and Blue Team needs to be careful. Now there's nothing for Jingwei to split push over on the left side. There's no towers. We're going to see the Jingwei in these fights, and it's going to be a lot harder for Blue Team to kind of burn the objectives for free like they're doing in a 5v5 than it was for them to do in a 5v4.
Honestly, I think that the biggest part of that fight was the fact that Venedicts Cavalry, they forgot about Panda Mid. I mean, and to be honest, he's been very non-interactive since the early game. Just been farming up. A lot of the kills that Benedict's Cavalry have found have been on players like Waddle, Privative, Hakumba. Conviction hasn't died yet. Even he was able to get out of that somehow, but this Poseidon only died once. Has his spear, working on his last item, has a gem of isolation, and has his double rings ready. So he does a ton of damage that they just weren't ready for. And now, as you said, they're going to start translating that, even in the gold lead. It's still at 2,000 in Cavalry's favor, but I think they're in a perfect position to try and contest these 5v5s because you're right. We're in a spot in the game where we haven't passed the 30-minute mark, but items, I mean, gold lead really isn't starting to matter. Everyone is starting to have their items. Everybody's carries are getting to the same level, and it's a Jingwei, it's a Poseidon, and they have the follow-up and the initiation of a Naja and a Circuit. So Big Money Esports is looking scarier and scarier the later this game is going.
Yeah, and think if I'm red team, I want to have some really good ward vision around the fire giant. It looks like they do right now. Blue most likely going to be trying to get away from it. I don't even know if they noticed that one that's right behind them. But Erlong here actually going to go in, and
Ooh.
That's a dead Naja.
And the Kraken whiffed. It didn't get any damage on anybody. And that will be a 4v5. Big Money Esports still trying to fight this because they know if they leave, that's going to be a free EFG toward Big Money Esports possibly. But there's not much they can do once they've lost that engage potential from the Naja. I just think it was unfortunate that Panda Mid whiffed on his ultimate, but it was a great engage all the same. I gotta give props to Dana Perez finding that pick, knowing who he had to find, and making sure that Lunatic and Neximus had their chance to take out that all-important target.
Yeah, blue team here. Well, I don't know. That Poseidon ult just off the mark. And looking at his build, he's thrown in a couple rings. He doesn't have an ob shard. It's going to be really hard for him to blow up tanks in general, especially off of setup. Blue team here actually looking for that cheeky objective burn, but the Ice of Ult might have been popped too early, and this could be a chance for Big Money Esports to steal, but they do not. Venedicts Cavalry is going to get that for themselves. That was actually pretty close. Ice Assault popped way too early. They're kind of misjudging the damage coming out onto the Fire Giant, and Cat just getting out by the skin of her teeth there. This could still be a good fight for blue team.
And Conviction's gonna fall. Legendary didn't stop the chase. Oh, despite Primitive's attempts to force the enemy team to chase, they didn't take that bait. They find the 80 carry, and now Hakumba will be the next to fall here with a stun. The passive is there, but it won't matter. He has no up that damage to make sure he gets out of it and is able to revive. And now they're trying to push for this Phoenix, but Big Money Esports, they still have Waddle available, they still have Privative, and Panda Mid is sitting around the corner. He has the Kraken, so if they can lock down enough members, he can lay down that big damage. But it's really starting to look grim for Big Money Esports the later this game goes, because they're just having a hard time finding those type of picks. However, they do, or Lunatic is able to find Waddle, so there goes one engage potential gone, and now Panda Mid's getting aggressed on by a Legendary, and it looks like he doesn't have long to live.
And this is the healing I was talking about from that Ice Assault. You can see they drop it on the Phoenix. She pops it, they're all back to full health. They get the Phoenix, they get the Titan, and a win for Venedicts Cavalry.
So now if you're Big Money Esports, you gotta start sweating because you were the favorites. Venedicts Cavalry were by and far the underdogs here in this single best of 3 alone, and now you've lost the game to them. Saying for the next game, what does BME come back and switch over? Is it a compositional issue in combination with how they're playing, or how do they fix this so that they don't get swept?
I think the issue is their comp had a lot of setup, but they're just really not playing off of each other. I think the thing is, blue team did exactly what their comp should have done, and red team didn't really play off the strengths of their comp, and I think that's the entire idea behind that. So really great victory from blue team. They struggled a little bit in the early game, going for those pyromancers and losing a lot of gold furies, except for that really nice steal from Fafnir. So overall, red team just needs to play to the strengths of their comp. I mean, you said it. They're the favorites in this matchup. They just need to play like it.
And just looking at those damage charts very quickly as well, look at Legendary on this Bologna. And in pick and ban phase next game, this might be something they decide to ban away. Because not only did he have the most damage on his team, he also had the most damage mitigated. I mean, he was all over the place doing exactly what Bologna does, just being a problem. And right now, Big Money Esports, they need a problem solver, not a problem maker. But we'll have to see how they decide to fix it in the next game. We're going to take a quick break before we get into game 2 of this series. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Over the edge, feel like I'm floating through the air. The pain I felt is paid for, all is said and done. Oh, I am restricted, fixed upon the web. I need to kick the habit that my mind is breathing in. Break out, I've got to see. Burning the bridge that keeps us. I'm here and I'm feeling exaggerated, that's what you assume. The story's over now, I must conclude. I am conflicted, watching where I step still, hanging in the balance. Not the life I want to live, I want to take it all. Standing tall, fear outweighed the person you are. Oh, break out, I've got to see. Spent all my life holding all of it closely. I played it in a sense, a feel of discontent. I'm finally facing it all, fearless. broken alone. I feel the rain crashing down. All around this empty town, I'm searching for the lost and found. But you don't care, you're unaware. Keep moving like the scars aren't even there. It's in the air, like a blazing flare. Just stare 'cause the flames will burn.
And welcome back to Game 2 of the Smite Console League presented by Smite Prime. I won't introduce it the same like that every. It's the first time we're doing this, so I gotta make sure it's ingrained in people's heads, Sin4, that this is the Smite Console League presented by Smite Prime and nobody else's. Big Money Esports, they actually didn't switch sides. They stuck with the same sides, but did get different composition. This time, they switched it up with giving Waldo the Bologna, that Privative on that Bakasura, and basically just overall more standard than we saw their last composition, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I think both of these comps. I don't know. I wouldn't say that right off the bat. I can see what they're going for here. Although I think on red team, I really value the Janice, who's going to be able to get this killer combination of a Terra ult into a Bak ult. They have a really strong team fight over on that side, but also a decent amount of setup for this Scylla. Got to be careful on the side of red team. I mean, we saw early how much a Scylla can do, and you don't want to be the one being hit by those crushes or that Scylla ult.
And honestly, I do like the fact that Big Money kind of went, I won't say more standard, I think I misspoke. They went with a less specified composition. The previous game was pretty much, we're going to set up for Panda mid to hit, as Panda mid gets hit with a really, really big crush there in the mid lane, he's going to have to probably recall, and that's going to put him at a disadvantage. We see a fight going on around the blue buff. It looks like Big Money wanted to play around the enemy blue, and now it might come back to hurt them as they're taking a lot of damage, and Legendary and Houseplant will push them out. But my earlier point was basically they played a composition that revolved around Panda mid being able to land those Krakens consistently and then Conviction following up. And now it's more general. They have a lot more damage spread and a lot more tools to work with.
Yeah, and actually over on the left side, Erlang looking for a super early gank onto the Hachiman. This is something we've been seeing a lot of. Isn't going to elect to kind of go in the jungle and loop around back instead. No, he's just going to go back to mid and see if maybe he can find something on the Janice. But yeah, sometimes those early invades or those early ganks onto the left side, and hold that thought, Panda mid might be in a little trouble here, but wow, 1 HP.
Living barely, 13 HP, and that might have been after the health regen started to come in. Oh my goodness, is a follow-up gank from Dana Perez. If he didn't recall before, he's definitely had to recall then, and that's going to give this Scylla a little bit more space. That means she's probably going to get to her book first, which means a build that already takes some time to come online will come online even faster. As we're not really surprised about this boxing here in the solo lane. They've been doing it all series. However, this time Dana Perez is here to join up. He does not have Blink, but he's just going to try to run in and find the taunt. He doesn't land a stun this time, but Hakumba has already been separated from Waddle. Lands a double stun, but all it takes is the crush, but a great shield before the crush can come through will save his life. And now Waddle can at least force him to back away. Dana Perez has the recall, and great job by BME on this Chaos side of basically not giving up first blood when all signs indicated that the 4v2 was going to work.
Yeah, I mean, red team just keep getting out of here on the skin of their teeth. Really, really great shell there to save the life of Bologna. So not able to take him down. And red team actually getting invades on the left side while that entire brawl was going on over in solo. And one advantage of having a Bakasura is you cannot really out-secure a Bakasura, especially this early. He's just going to kind of run around and take whatever buffs he likes because, why not? He can eat your buffs. So really great job, or really great presence of mind there from red team to understand that, yeah, I mean, they're not really getting anything on the right, but we can definitely capitalize and get something over on the left.
And I want to say, and correct me if I'm wrong, that Bakasura is already going to out-farm and Erlang Shin as far as clear and how fast he can clear, and the fact that Dana Perez couldn't make that gank work meant that he's been put even further behind a Privative, as he's basically getting his entire jungle cleared out by this red side jungler, and now he's going to go mid, and the through space and time does barely miss on Lunatic. So both mids have had close calls with death, danced with the devil, and gotten out alive, but eventually one of them is going to end up falling if they keep playing this dangerously.
Yeah, they do need to be careful because eventually one of those Scylla Crushes is going to kill or something like that. I think both teams maybe a more red team just needs to play this farm game. I really like the mobility of the Janus and the Bakasura and their ability to kind of get in and get out very quickly and steal away those buffs. I think Big Money Esports could really play this slow and just look for these invades and kind of gain a small gold lead so that by the time Blue gets annoyed and wants to force an objective fight, they're actually ahead and Blue might not even have realized it by then.
Now, I want to take a look at this support matchup as well, because it's a Ganesh versus a Terra, and I honestly feel like Hakumba has more usability, while the Ganesh does have that silence on the Ohm. Honestly, there's only one target that you would want to silence, I think, and it's the other support, because everyone else, Panda Mid has an ultimate that he can throw from half a mile away, so he shouldn't get close enough to the Ganesh to Ohm him. Everybody else has ultimates basically that Ganesh can't really get close enough to stop them. So, I mean, maybe he's oming to stop the Terra, Earth, and Fury and stuns, but do you think that they picked this Ganesh to be aggressive, or why did they grab this pick with this composition, knowing that one of his most important abilities wouldn't have a ton of use? Maybe the ultimate?
Yeah, the ultimate does provide a decent amount of control, especially in team fights. And I think with the recent buffs to Ganesh, he's a little better, especially with the added protections onto his 2. So that might be helpful, but Aka here are going to be causing a little bit of trouble in the mid lane. Erlong is able to get out with his life, has to pop the ultimate for it. But yeah, I think the idea behind the Ganesh here is just space control. His ability to boost the damage of his team is really nice. Dharmic Pillars, definitely underrated. A lot of damage if you can hit the combo, which I know a lot of people can't, but if you can get that combo, that's a dead enemy. And I think it's control overall, along with the slows that come with it. Just super strong, super underrated.
I mean, you saw it right there. He threw out the Dharmic Pillars, and that stopped Primitive from going any further on the Lunatic and saved his. I think if Ganesh is in the composition and maybe another support, unless it's like a Kefri or someone that can basically grab Privative and keep him from running after Lunatic, then that might be a dead Scylla. And you're right, the Dharmic Pillars, looking at BME's composition, should be able to keep them at bay, because you have a Bologna, the Bakasura, even Conviction on his Hachiman. They want to get close. When you have to deal with that burn damage from the pillars, it just hurts too much at times. So hopefully he'll be able to keep that going and maybe help Venedicts Cavalry get to a 2-0 as we look at these early charts. Their early leads are in favor of Big Money for now, but it is only 7 minutes into the game. And no kills going down, but a lot of tempo advantage going over to BME, and I think that's where the difference is, especially on this Bakasura.
Yeah, they are accumulating quite the gold lead, as we kind of talked about before. This is kind of what they want to do. I think Blue Team needs to maybe look for a pick or just find a good fight around an objective before this gold lead gets too out of hand and there's nothing that they can do about it. Because the last thing you want is a Bakasura running at your backline when he's just fed out of his mind, because it is going to be very hard to stop him. And as we all know, Baka does quite a bit of damage, and I would not want to be a Scylla just sitting in my ultimate kind of helpless to the autos of a Bakasura.
Yeah, once he gets all his swords, all his pointy knives, already has one, still needs to get that Hasten Katana and what could either be a Stonecutters, or he could go for the golden Katana as well first. So really the order is just depending on the situation. But once he's like Zoro from One Piece and has 5 different swords in his belt, you can't really stop him as the Dharmic Pillars is thrown out because they're trying to stop this engage. And Lunatic lands the Ama from downtown across the wall and gets the extra damage on top of that, but Wall is able to answer back. So 1 for 1, but First Blood does go over to the Scylla for Venedicts Cavalry, and that's exactly what you want, is for the Scylla to get fed, get big, accelerate her build path, and get her to those items quickly so she can take over games. But I think Big Money did their best answering back with a kill. Now they're going to have to try and figure out what they can do next. As they do get Lunatic, the beads are popped to stop Panda Mid from maybe finding a kill with that space through space and time. Another stun is there, but Lunatic, again, thanks to Houseplant, escapes death.
Yeah, and we were talking in a little bit earlier about the value of that Ganesh ult, and I almost think about it like an Odin cage, because I think people are just so scared to walk out of it for fear that the Ganesh is going to immediately respond with this 3 and just knock you up into the damage, that they just kind of kite around within it. You'll see that a lot. People don't want to take damage because in a team fight, why would you want to take damage when you know you can easily avoid it? The problem is there that the Scylla was right around the wall and got the big ult.
Oh, Conviction almost picked up that kill. Another carry for Venedicts Cavalry that was left on super low HP. He'll be able to escape. He did use the bomb to escape the damage of the last auto attack. However, Panda Mid does pick up Lunatic, and now Privative has found Houseplant as well. Did pop the ultimate to get that extra speed and the health and the damage, and finds one more. So that's 2 kills going over to Chaos side as they pick up the support and the mid laner, and that's going to give them Gold Fury.
Yeah, that should be a free Gold Fury for Big Money Esports. This is what we were talking about earlier. I said, oh.
Okay, it was for his team.
Okay.
I got scared.
I also freaked out for a second, and I was like, wait, that Janus is on their team, right? Because that would have been the cleanest steal.
My god.
But no, my mistake. The Janus is on the red team. He just secured it from mid lane. Interesting way of doing things, I guess. But yeah, so free... wow, I cannot speak. Free Gold Fury for Big Money Esports there. We talked earlier, blue team can't let this gold lead get out of hand or they're not going to be able to win a fight. They let the gold lead get out of hand. Red team gets 2 picks. They get a free Gold Fury. That's the end of the...
That's just the way it be sometimes. It really is out here like that, you know? And back to that Giannis ultimate, I just have to say, I had to get this in here. That was worthy. If that had been a steal, that would have been worthy of Michael Bay explosions as Panda Mid turns around, puts his sunglasses on, doesn't even watch the explosions. He just does it super Power Ranger style. But we already have a fight here near the Pyromancer. They will be caught out. Venedicts Cavalry on the back foot. And now Big Money Esports wants to try and find something, anything. The Dharmic Pillars are thrown up to get some space to allow the rest of Venedicts to run. Houseplant maybe sacrificing his life. Legendary actually being the one to try and get a little bit of, pressure relieved. And we'll pop that bull form just to escape. So Venedicts stopping the Pyromancer. I couldn't really see who started that one. Was it Venedicts or was it BME that started that Pyromancer?
I think it was blue team looking for the Pyromancer. Red team was kind of positioned oddly, more like they were trying to flank and get something on blue team there while they had pulled it. But now it's a free Pyromancer for red team, and they're actually doing so much in that fight. Her ultimate just, with the heals it provides for your team and the damage it does to the other team, it's just really so hard to play around. So really great job from Terra there, hitting as many people as she possible on her team and on the other team.
And Panda Mid escaping death. I mean, both of these mid laners are playing on a tightrope in this lane right now. It seems like either Lunatic's fall or is Panda Mid about to fall, both on really low HP every single time as Legendary gets caught out alone. He's going to fall. Privative even used the ultimate to make sure they secured that kill. Dharmic Pillars will find Panda Mid underneath turret as well. So all over the map, Venedicts Cavalry and Big Money Esports just trying to pull triggers, but Panda Mid escapes through the portal. Finds his way out. I thought he was dead to rights, but again, playing with his life, just showing how good he is at this game and more skirmishing. But right now it's a Privative on his Bakasuri. He has 2 different katanas, and that's a Bakasuri you don't want to fight. But I said that earlier about the Pyromancer Sin 4 because, as a caster, we had to take approaches to certain things as they happen. If it had been Big Money Esports starting that Pyromancer, I was going to say Venedicts Cavalry did a great job of forcing them off without finding any members falling. But now that we know it was Big Money Esports that were the ones that forced Venedicts off of that objective, that just means that Big Money did a great job of engaging, making sure they not only kept them off the Pyromancer, but secured it for themselves, while Cavalry, they just had to try and book it out of there and almost left, not only with the Pyromancer being taken away, but with 2 members dead and more gold in Big Money Esports' pockets.
Yeah, and red team really starting to run away with it. They're getting all these objectives. They're taking a tier 1 tower in mid. That's going to give them a lot of mid pressure how much they're farming, I wouldn't be so well. I mean, it's a little too early for an FG, but I think they could definitely posture around the next Gold Fury and try to force something there. They have a great team fight. Everybody's pretty much ahead for the most part. So yeah, this could be this next fight could make it or break it for blue team here. They won the last game, but can they win this game? They're gonna have to do something at Gold Fury to bring this one back.
As we've already crossed the 14-minute mark, 4-1, 6,000 gold lead, just about for Big Money Esports. As you see Conviction move into the dual lane once more to 1v1 around this farm. Houseplant in the mid lane alone. You see Big Money on this Chaos side. They're all positioned in their jungle, just sitting still, waiting for a possible pick. They know the Fury's about to spawn. It's going to be the Oni. You see Houseplant moving that way already to lay down some words. And I think if you're Venedicts Cavalry, you just have to rely on the fact that Lunatic is inevitably going to get big on this Scylla. And the Chaos side, they can't really do much because while, yes, you do have the through space and time for Panda mid, you do have a lot of damage coming in from Conviction on this Hachiman. The best security in this game is going to be that Crush and even I'm a Monster from the Scylla. So you have to be hesitant. They have to look to take down Lunatic first before they can take any objectives.
Yeah, they're definitely going to need to pick, and with the damage coming out of Scylla and setup from Ganesh, I certainly think he could do it. Bologna is looking to make a rotation into the mid lane here. Simbakong actually going to bird away, doesn't want to take too much poke, and Bologna could wrap around and look at this Gold Fury, but I actually think she's electing to go back to solo. If I were her, though, yeah, she's kind of starting to walk back. I don't know. I was the Bologna there, and I heard the call that this Jingwei was low. I would have been rotating to Gold Fury right away because Jingwei has to back. She will be able to fly in, but red team certainly could posture for a good fight here over at the Gold Fury.
Looks like instead he will decide to proxy waves along with this Sun Wukong and basically trade out on farm. Big Money looked like they were about to start it. Instead, they just take the Oracles and back away. They didn't really know where Lunatic was. He showed his face, and they said, we might have a little trouble taking this one. Primitive is now on guard duty. He throws out the ultimate to try and stop Lunatic. Lunatic might have been cut out with the bait. He goes to half health. Primitive trying to chase through, but he's not able to find anybody with the ult just yet. And now the Alma Monster comes through, but it whiffs. It doesn't find the Bakasura, and now BME are able to walk away for now. Legendary is on the back end, all by himself, though, on this Sun Wukong, trying to find Conviction here in this right side jungle. Has to pop the ultimate. I think he might fall here to the 4 members of BME as he ults back out. He won't. He'll be able to escape for now. And so this time, it's Venedicts Cavalry doing a great job appealing Big Money Esports off of the Gold Fury.
Yeah, really great job getting them off of the Gold Fury there. Like I said, they needed to do something to stop this bleeding as far as gold is concerned. Red team actually 6K up now, so great job by them there to just kind of stalemate things out and keep that fight even. I think if the Scylla can hit the ult, the fight definitely goes in their favor. There, she kind of whiffed it. I definitely think it's a different story if she hits the ult, especially on this Bakasura. The one thing the Scylla could look to be doing is, when the Baka commits on her, she could just kind of alt her feet, and that could be the end of Baka. So I think that's kind of the win condition as far as team fights go.
They definitely need to start doing something soon because without Lunatic having an Obshar, which I don't think he could try and build a little bit aggressively and go that next, but I don't think that's in the cards. And there's already a Pestilence being built here for Waddle. He also has the Void Shield. So there's some magical protections coming through for the side of Big Money Esports, which means that if they can't find picks soon and he's going to wait till 5th, 6th item to get that Ob Shard, then this Scylla might become a little bit inactive toward this mid game if she can't lay down the damage to find those kills. And she's their big ticket item on their team as Houseplant gets found out, gets stunned up, but he's a Ganesh. He's a little bit tanky at this point, having the Gauntlet of Thieves and working on what I can only assume is a Oni Hunters. So he's not going to fall down just yet, but they're all posturing around this Oni Fury.
Yeah, and blue team, they need to get in there. They need to do something. Baka over just kind of walks in and ults for free, and that is a dead Ganesh. Scylla looking for some damage, but they're all probably going to be able to heal it right back up, and someone comes out. Meanwhile, Hachiman on the Gold Fury the entire time, and he's just going to get it for free. Big Money Esports running away with the team fight and the objectives.
And now they found Daniel Perez and Neximus. Neximus able to turn around on Privative, found the right time. Priv was taking too much damage from the purple buff and found the auto attacks, so they are at least able to trade out a kill for a kill. Houseplant for the jungler, and so I would say that's an even trade, but they did lose that Oni Fury. Legendary's trying to go on a turret for Waddle. They do have the damage with the crush, but they're not able to find a kill just yet, and they have to run away. And actually, he's going to have to pop that ultimate one more time to escape, but he does have Panda mid here, has to be careful where he lands, should be able to escape regardless, and Lunatic gets stunned, but nothing much will come of it. Lunatic that entire time didn't have his ultimate, so Big Money Esports picked a great time to go for the Oni Fury. I just have to give big ups to Venedicts Cavalry for still being able to find a kill on the back end, but I think that was more Privative being a little bit too aggressive and greedy for that purple buff.
Yeah, for sure. Stayed a little too long, Baka. It wasn't exactly a shutdown, but Baka certainly pretty fed, so good kill overall for Jingwei, who's been bullied out for most of the game. Red team, worse things could happen. Red team does get the Gold Fury, and they're going to start looking over at this Fire Giant. It is around 20 minutes. It should be a free Fire Giant for them if they can do the same thing that they did at the Gold Fury there.
The entire team is here. Conviction has that Devil's Gauntlet, has the Atalanta's Bow, has an online Executioners as well. So he does a ton of damage, and they're betting on that as he's the only real carry here. Privative is here as well, so with all three of those big, pointy, long knives, he does a ton of damage, and they are going to be able to secure that Fire Giants. Houseplant will try and run away on the Ganesh, but a great ultimate from Waddle will stop him in his tracks, and now Lunatic is here. He might have to book it. He does use a Sentinel to get out for now. Legendary is getting collapsed on, and now the ultimate from Bakasura is thrown out, but the Bull form should be able to get him out of dodge and into safety. But all in all, Big Money finding the Fire Giant. However, it is on that left side that King Neximus did find that tower. He's going to keep trying to push. Lunatic has to try and pop the I'm a Monster to get away. He will with a sliver of health. How many times? 16. How many times have we said about these mid laners that they get away with just within an inch of their lives? And now that's going to allow Neximus to keep pushing.
I actually think the Terra would have been able to get that kill, but she got body blocked by minions on the auto that would have killed the Scylla, so just able to get out. Just barely. Jingwei does get 2 towers on that left side while Red Team is securing that Fire Giant. But she could be in trouble because Janus is on his way.
Oh, what a play.
And Baka, rough one. Did not expect the crits out of the Jingwei, or maybe he did, I don't know. But Janus forcing both actors out of the Jingwei. Can't take the boxing match now. Waiting for cooldowns. Ult out of the Jingwei. She's going to be able to get over to the wall. Janus doesn't aim it right at all. She's trying to heal. Pretty sure she's dead.
She is. I thought she could make the outplay. She was so close. But the Terra being able to chase down. Now the Dark Pillars are being popped because Lunatic had to pop his own Aegis to escape, which means Houseplant might be thrown to the wolves again, but he's able to rush back out of there. So that space control from the Ganesh coming in handy one more time, but it's still 7-3. Big Money still has Fire Giant on 4 people, and they're going to go ahead and start pushing toward these objectives.
Yeah, and Red Team now just going to be able to secure their gold lead. There's pretty much nothing else to it. Almost all the towers are down, only 2 tier 2s remaining. They should be able to get both of them, although I feel like they may elect with their lead to take down one and just kind of push for the Phoenix. There's not a Gold Fury coming up or anything like that, so really their goal here is to just dive these Phoenixes with the Bakasura and the Terra ult and just get one and end the game.
And looking at the item builds right now, I mean, the Soul Gem for the Giannis, I understand, just trying to make sure he can survive in these fights, get a little bit of that magical life steal, and make sure he doesn't fall too soon, especially when you have Scylla running around. As we talking about running around, I mean, Legendary has to pop his ultimate just to escape 4 members of Big Money Esports. They're just going to wait for this monkey to land, and he's going to try and run for the jungle and make a run for it. But a great portal stops him up in through space and time, hits him from downtown and finds the kill. And that means this should be another tower in favor of Big Money Esports. They're going to expand their gold lead to 10,000 and look to push for this Phoenix.
And now with the Bakasura in mid, they could be looking for a 5v4 split push 4 going to one side and the Baka splitting mid on the other. He actually does force ult for ult from the Jingwei. Hachiman, though, on the right side, autoing down the Phoenix with his Terra, and he's in a little trouble from the Ganesh, but ooh, kind of an early Terra ult. I'm not sure if they're going to get a lot of value out of that.
Not really, you're right. I mean, Daniel Perez actually ends up picking up Privative on his lonesome, so really had a negative effect on that Terra ultimate. The Earthman Fury didn't even buy them enough time to get Phoenix, so seems like a bit of a waste, and that Fire Giant is going to go ahead and expire here very soon. So they did at least get a little bit something out of it. They at least expanded the goal lead into the double digits while they had the chance and didn't bungle it too much, but that last engage could come back to bite them. As looking at the experience difference as well is above 5,000. I feel like that can be really felt in this jungle matchup, where actually the jungle is behind. And in this top lane matchup as well, if we could actually get a look to see where the levels are at currently for our teams. As the Gold Fury does go, I believe, in favor of Big Money Esports. They did take that one. But yeah, level advantage popping up in the mid lane, in that support, really, at this point. Actually, 2-level lead for Daniel Perez over Privative is really surprising given the state of the game.
Yeah, I feel like the Erlong is just able to get a lot in these. Well, for everything that blue team has been getting in these fights, I feel like the Erlong's been a part of it, and he's been able to keep pretty even. Comparatively, gold leads are going to start, not mattering as much as you start to approach the 30-minute mark, especially since there's so many towers gone on both sides. Jingwei able to split push down those two towers in left, and also a tier 1 and tier 1 right being gone. So blue team here, like I said earlier, they need to use the Scylla ult to their advantage. They have so much control with the Ganesh. I think one good Scylla ult could really set them up for a nice fight, or at least delaying the game long enough that builds and gold leads don't matter at all. They just need a good pick to delay red team for a little bit, because red team, they're posturing to just run at the enemy carries, and honestly, there's not much that can be done about it. I know the Ganesh pick is... I do like the Ganesh pick, but at the same time, it's going to be hard for him to silence out a Bakasura, seeing as all Bakasura wants to do is auto you in the first place.
And we're really on Scylla watch, you're right, because besides that first blood, I don't think he's picked up another kill off of the Ama Monster. Maybe off of a Crush, but not off of the ultimate to get the reset. So looks like Big Money Esports going to go ahead and start taking this Pyromancer, as King Nexus actually takes out Privative in the side lane along with Daniel Perez. So while the Pyromancer may go to the Chaos side, it does mean that the push will come through from the jungle and AD carry of Venedicts Cavalry, and Big Money Esports has to respond. Looks like they're trying to stop the backs. Legendary doing his best. There will be one that gets off. It is the Giannis, and that will force a recall from Venedicts Cavalry. So a good try, but no real cigar, as that Phoenix just didn't fall, and that was the true objective there.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know. These weird split pushes in duo, I feel like never seem to work out for both teams in game 1 and game 2. Almost, everybody kind of getting the towers, but at some point they just keep going over there for no reason and just kind of losing their lives and getting picked. But it is a really good delay. We did talk about the one thing you do want to do if your blue team is get picks. They find the pick onto the Bakasura. All red team can seem to get out of it is a Pyromancer. Now it looks like blue team has pressure, or at least wow.
Good God! Lunatic, you madman! Destroying Panda mid, and now it's going to be the go button for Legendary. He wants to try and find more, but he can't really backline just yet. The stun lands, but on the wrong target. But you think this should at least give Cavalry the chance to start this Fire Giant and maybe bait. It is an EFG, so it'll be harder to take, but Privative is on the backside. They had the team split. This is their time. This is their chance to possibly retake the game.
Yeah, Waddle walking in, looking for anything. Good CC chain by the Ganesh. There's not much the balloon can do about that. I think she was a little premature on that ult. Scylla up in the ultimate, looking for anything. Only hit the Terra, and it barely does anything with Terra ult popped especially. Should be able to heal that back up. Lunatic looking for some damage onto the balloon and not going to be able to find it. And now maybe in a bad position herself, although Erlong right behind her to help out if things get a little bit scary.
Yeah, is able to escape. The stun didn't land there from Hoopa, and either. Privative was trying to chase as well, but he might get doing the damage Lunatic didn't have the ultimate, but a good crush might have been able to secure that kill. There's only 2 ults available for the side of Venedicts Cavalry. Only one, and that's the through space and time for the Giannis. But it might be important because if a Fire Giant gets started, that would be their quickest way of rejoining the fight, as both teams just know how important it is to make sure they secure this objective, or at least win a fight around it. As there's only one ward here, and that's for Venedicts Cavalry. It will be cleared by Waddle, and now the posturing begins once again. Red buff is being taken by Dana Perez on the other side of the map, but I don't think that Big Money Esports has any idea that that is the case. They're just hoping to get positional advantage and maybe find a pick here before they try and start this objective.
Yeah, red team here having the pressure around the Fire Giant. Both junglers actually over in the left lane again. Hopefully we don't see the same thing that happened the last time where a Bakasur is getting picked. If red team wants to close this one out, I think it needs to be in a 5v5 situation at the Fire Giant. They have a really good team fight, and blue just hasn't been able to respond to it very well. So I don't see why they would want to switch up in the first place. But both junglers electing to go over there. Actually, Baka does need to go over there because there's a huge wave pushing towards that Phoenix, and you certainly don't want to lose that Phoenix.
And I understand for Venedicts Cavalry trying to use a split push to delay the Fire Giant, but I feel like you need to be, when you split push, it's supposed to be because you're trying to take an advantage somewhere, not stop. They are behind, but all they're really doing is stalling out. Everyone's about at 6 items except for this Scylla. She did pick up the Obstar, but she does have one more slot to fill. But besides that, unless they're giving her more farm, it just seems like they're just really trying to prevent the inevitable, which is Big Money Esports starting this objective while Primitive's here and possibly winning a fight, as a stun does land on the Daniel Perez. It will be enough to let Waddle escape for now. The Sycamore Crush do not land, and so that will be a misfire and false alarms for both sides around this Fire Giant pit again.
Yeah, and I think if anybody's going to split push for the side of blue team, it should be the Jingwei. With her passive, she's able to get back to those Gold Fury fights really effectively, and I think that Erlong is going to do a lot more in a Fire Giant defense situation than the Jingwei is right off the bat, because she's kind of more coming into the end to pump damage into the front line and maybe clean up some kills if the fight goes in their favor. These junglers just keep rotating over and over to the left or to the left side, invading each other's red buffs, but a little bit of pressure onto the Terra here, and wow, that Janus ult.
Yeah, Nexum is getting hit by the full through space and time, and now he has a pop escape, but finds Panda mid with the I'm a Monster, and Primitive Gurge through, and he finds one. Conviction finds another. So that's a 2-for-1 so far in this fight. Houseplant is stuck on the back end. Conviction is going to start laying in the damage. He's really tanky as a Ganesh, though, so Legendary will have time to follow up. But Primitive finds a double on this Bakasura. He's still landing the auto attacks. You can't stop a multi-sorted Bakasura at this stage of the game, and he just wants to find a little bit more, as Daniel Perez and Legendary should fall here soon, and that will be a full team wipe for Big Money Esports. The Sun Wukong is able to escape, and so is the Erlong Shin, but surely this can be a Fire Giant take. At least the Pyromancer and Big Money Esports can finally look for those objectives to push their lead even further, and possibly in this game.
Yeah, I think red team could have made that team fight a lot cleaner. It seems like they really split on targets at the end of the fight, but overall, really good for them. They are going to secure the Pyromancer. If I'm them, I'm looking to... Oh, well, the timer on Hachiman is really late, so I don't think they'll be able to rush down this Fire Giant like they probably want to with the speed boost out of 8 with Pyromancer. So it's probably going to just go back to another stalemate at Fire Giant, unfortunately. Erlong, though, looking for something here over on the left side, maybe a pick. He's waiting for this Bakasur to come around the corner. The taunt is good, but Baka ult is also good, and this could be a dead Erlong. No, I think he's going to be all right.
Yeah, Panda mid trying to chase him down. Ooh, the damage on one does come through, but he's not able to just finish it out. So Panda mid not able to find a kill. Primitive escaping, but he'd have to use the regurgitate, and Enterprise you can get away knowing that you got 2 ultimates out of Big Money Esports. 2 important ones when it comes to their team fight, as you saw in that last one, the damage. But now Big Money, after that, they're going to go ahead and start this Fire Giant. Daniel Perez might have put his team in a position to bait them into it and then steal it or at least start a fight. But it looks like they're none the wiser about this. They have no vision on it. There's only 2 members around. Now they're starting to make the rotation, but it might be too little too late. As Legendary is doing his best to try and stop this and buy time for the rest of the team to show up. Then Prez lands a stun. The crush is there, but the Scylla can't aggress any further because of how much damage is being put out by Big Money Esports. She can't afford to get stunned because if she does, she is a dead woman, girl, monster, whatever Scylla is in Greek lore. But all in all, Venedicts Cavalry do their job. They stop the Fire Giant. Now they're looking for more.
Yeah, I think right now they're biding time for this Janus ult to be back up, especially if blue team goes on this Fire Giant. That Janus ult could be very bad for them, especially, I mean, if he hits carry, steals the Fire Giant, whatever, he's going to be able to get his entire team in for the team fight. Waddle in a little bit of trouble coming out.
The flank coming in from Primitive finds 3. It's huge. And Panamid finds Lunatic with a through space and time. And this is the fight that Big Money Esports was waiting for, baby. They have King Eximus low. They want to find that kill. But the Jingwei does escape barely with their life houseplant trying to silence Panamid with the own. But it won't matter because, hey, guess what? Waddle's on this Bologna. He doesn't care about your silences because he wants to auto-attack you. And this should be a dead Ganesh eventually. And Big Money Esports finds a huge fight, finds a 3 for none, and will find a Phoenix, possibly an EFG, and maybe even the game here in a few minutes, as there's only 2 members left for Venedicts Cavalry that can do anything about this push.
I really would have. I really think Red Team could have ended there. I guess they're. Oh wait, no, they're just waiting for their Bologna. They're biding time for the teleport. What a perfect idea. Great communication from the Bologna there. She goes ahead and ults into the Titan. They're looking to burn it. Blue team, both members getting low, and there's nothing they can do about it. That is a dead Titan victory to Big Money Esports.
And just as Custer's last stand failed, so does Venedicts Cavalry's. They only had 2 members there. That'll be the game. The series title. Game 3, Big Money trying to defend their status as a number 2 team in the SCL PS4 North America division. And what a way to do it in this game 2. I mean, despite a little bit of early closeness, they overall popped off.
For sure. I think if I had to give it to anyone, I had a lot of fun watching the Janus and his snipes. You love to see someone who plays Janus like that, almost like an assassin, ulting through, just kind of getting to the back line, running away, kind of going in and out of every team fight. I love the way he played the Janus there, and he certainly did quite a bit for his team, cleaning up kills or setting up a really good engage. So overall, great job by him. And also, we got to talk about that Bakasura. He kind of started and ended the game for them, giving the initial gold lead with all those buff invades and that great Baka ult on the end to get everybody basically to 1 HP. Won them that fight overall, and helped them end the game off of it.
Primitive playing that Bakasura very well, just knowing that once he saw Erlong Shin fail on that gank on the solo lane, he said, I'm just going to take everything, get that gold lead, turn that into my auto attack items. And once he had those, he was nigh unstoppable in the mid to late game, even early on, as you said. Waddle even putting in some time for his team with that damage mitigation as well, being that great front line, Akumba with the heals. It seemed like an overall great team effort for Big Money Esports, and Venedicts Cavalry, will have to find a way to respond on their own. I don't think it was really the draft, except for that Ganesh, but we'll see how they decide to change things up. We're going to go to a quick break. When we return, it'll be Game 3, the finale of the series. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back.
What does perfect even mean? Is there even such a thing? Ooh, can we switch up all the rules and imagine a utopia? Darling, I'm just so fed up with these expectations. They keep weighing me down. My heart is begging me to get the hell out of my head. I'm gonna live inside the upside down for a minute and pretend, honey, I'm a perfect 10. Whoa, whoa, honey, I'm a perfect 10. Whoa, whoa, and if I say it enough, it gets ingrained in my head, and I start to see, honey, I'm a perfect 10. Honey, I'm a perfect 10. Whoa, honey, I'm a perfect 10. Honey, I'm a, yeah. Yeah, I've discussed it with myself, and I'm disgusted with the way we're told to have a certain face, a certain weight, because we aren't pixels on a screen. No, we're human, we breathe. Every single thing we see curated, it's overrated. These expectations, they keep weighing me down. My heart is begging me to get the hell out of my head. I'm gonna live inside the upside down for a minute and pretend, honey, I'm a perfect 10. Whoa, honey, I'm a perfect 10. Whoa, and if I say it enough, it gets ingrained in my head, and I start to think, honey, I'm a perfect 10. Honey, I'm a perfect 10. Whoa, honey, I'm a perfect 10. Honey, I'm a, yeah.
Welcome back, everybody. The final game of night, Sinful. It's been a long one, but it's been great games overall. And looking at these compositions, because again, we don't get to see picks and bans like everybody else. It looks like, I mean, really big money is sticking to their guns. Pretty much same composition, a little bit of changes in gods, but pretty much same type of play style. While Venedicts Cavalry switching things up. They didn't like what they played last time, so they're gonna go for a complete overhaul of what they played basically this entire series.
Yeah, actually, I liked. I always love to see the AMC pick because you know how much pressure it provides, and AMC always kind of just that annoying god with the bees. But Primitive and Waddle running back the Bologna Bakasura, but and actually the Hachiman as well. But the only change up on the picks are the Artio and the Zhang Kui. Those are both two really strong picks. If we're talking about good team fight, I mean, Zhang Kui is one of those guys that will do it, and Artio providing a lot of peel and a lot of sustain for their team. It looks like they probably would have done a run back of their comp from last game, but blue team electing to take the Terra away for themselves.
Yeah, so they go for the next best thing. And you talked about this AMC. My real question is, last game, the tank AMC build, he did get the Mage's Blessing. Why would he grab that instead of the Hunter's Blessing or even the Warrior's Blessing? Mage's Blessing, it seems a bit unique, but I might just not know AMC builds these days. You know, I don't play AMC like that. I'm more of a standard X-Ball guy. I'm that scumbag.
So the nice thing about Mage's Blessing on AMC is that Mage's Blessing actually double procs on the Beast passive. So if you know how AMC works, his 2 and his 3 activate his hives. So there's the initial damage from the ability, but then like on the 2, but then also when the bees come down, there's a second hit of damage. And so Mage's Blessing actually applies twice. So he just wants that insta-clear, that really, really good pressure in duo with the double proc on Mage's Blessing. And then AMC clear in the first place being insane.
Yeah, just being obnoxious. Talk about obnoxious. Panamid having to deal with Lunatic again on Hera this time. And he actually had to use his beads early to dodge that damage because the mid laners, or the junglers, I'm sorry. So Albie beats down his Zhang Kui, did get some damage back, and he always has that sustain just because of his kit, but having that early relic down is really concerning, as now he's going to try and rotate back into the jungle, and it's going to be Pele versus Bakasura early, but Danny Perez already trying to lay down that early pressure on this Pele.
Yeah, and talk about really good clear. I was looking over in that soul lane on the Jorm, and those autos just tearing away at the wave. Seems like you know, if there's a god that can make up for the lack of clear that Terra has, it's definitely the Jorm with his AoE breath autos as well as his 2 clear. Really good for them, but then, you know, Bologna and Artio pretty much match it. Also, I really like this Pele pick because I feel like this is a god that can really deal with the dive potential of a Bakasura. I think she really thrives off of the healing from his minions. So the fact that she has AoE autos and can kind of heal off of all of that if he goes on her, I think that's really good. And the Pele will be able to deal with this Bakasura pick a lot better than the Erlong did last game.
On top of that, the ultimate disruption, I agree. Once the Bakasura tries to jump in with that regurgitate, Pele just pops the volcanic eruption and he gets knocked up and is delayed from jumping on the back line. So a great counter for sure coming in for Daniel Perez. Legendary on this Yorm. I'm going to assume that it's going to be a tank Jormungandr, not the full damage Jormungandr, just because, hey, they already have plenty of damage between this Hera and what will be this AMC later on in the game. And without getting a tank, all they'll have is Houseplant as that front line. And I don't know if you want to depend on just a Terra being your front line in this type of meta state, especially against big money esports. They have so many different threats to blow up a tank if they just build a little bit of penetration.
Yeah, no, it's definitely going to be a tanky Jorm, although I think we'll probably see something like a Gem of ISO and a Void Stone thrown in there, which are pretty popular items on Jorm, especially in the soul lane. What he's going to do is he's going to want that damage too, because Jorm solo, the idea is when a fight breaks out, you kind of immediately go into the ult and disrupt the backline with that ult. If they can't dodge it and they get hit by it, have the things like Void Stone online and the Gem of ISO giving you a little bit extra power, making that ult smack a little bit harder. I mean, I think Jorm does a decent amount of damage on his own, so kind of amplified by only 1 or 2 items, it can be really deadly, especially early to mid game. I think a lot of people don't expect the damage that comes out of Jorm. And he did pick up Pen Boots, so he's going to be smacking a little bit harder.
And that's one of the things about Yorm that just makes it so hard to deal with him, just makes him such a good god to take into the soul lane or the mid lane, is the fact that he has not only that sneaky damage, if he even just builds a little bit of penetration, as you said, going for those Magi's boots, but also the fact of his ultimate just having that easy access to the backline as Hold That Thought Daniel Perez trying to jump on a wall, does pop the volcanic eruption and does find the kill. The Regurgitate was there to answer, and Primitive wants to try and chase down this payload, but he has too much movement speed. It might not be enough, though, as Primitive, all he needs is a couple more autos, and he will find it. Legendary trying to lay down the extra damage. He gets 2 extra tower shots on top of that. The Earth and Fury, though, to slow him down, and now be Houseplant picking that one up on Primitive, but now Hakumba is the one in trouble.
Yeah, really, really great cleanup on the Bakasura there. Pele just not fast enough to get away from him because he was able to eat it. Although the Baka did kill his Bologna friend there. When he ulted, I think he gave Pele the ability to get that extra AoE auto off on one of his regurgitated minions, which actually killed the Bologna. But really great fight, a 3-for-1 there over on solo side in favor of Venedicts Cavalry. Nothing like starting out the game with a 1k lead at 5 minutes. Gotta feel good, especially when this game means so much in a best of 3. Looking into the mid lane here, Hera and Zhonghui just kind of doing their thing. I think the Zhong actually got an invade there onto the red buff. Hera being out of mana, not much you could do about that. So at least red team finds some kind of response over on the duo side.
That's the thing about Zhonghui that in its own right is dangerous. Is his wave clear is very good. He has a lot of sustain. He does a good bit of damage. So if you're, as you said, with no mana like Lunatic, you can't really contest him, especially if your jungler is on the right side of the map trying to gank the solo lane, which means that you have no extra help if your duo lane, which is only AMC right now, doesn't rotate over. So good awareness by Panda Mid to take the opportunity to take a buff and make sure this Hera doesn't have that advantage coming into lane, because a Hera with red buff this early can still put out a lot of damage and even solo kill if Lunatic can land his full chain. As now both teams, looks like it's going to be 2v2 in the mid lane, or 1v2. Scratch says Houseplant just kind of rotated through to get that ward, but everything right now seemingly going well for Venedicts Cavalry with the goal lead in their favor. But the fact that it just doesn't feel like Big Money Esports is that far behind, and with the composition they have, it feels like they're okay with that. They know that toward the mid-late game, they'll be a threat to this lineup.
Yeah, for sure. I think one of the nice things that Venedicts Cavalry has is that they were able to take away this terror, but hold that thought, Jordan a little bit of trouble, and I think he's just going to go ahead and ult out here.
Yeah, he'll use the World Serpent just to get out, and another check mark on the list of good things that Yorm is good for is not only is that ultimate great for getting to the back line, he can, just pop it, and as long as he doesn't drop too low and die before he gets that invulnerability, he can just ult right out of any situation. So, and it's too early for anyone to be able to burn him down, especially this early in the game. So able to escape a sticky situation. But now if they choose to fight around the Gold Fury, he's not going to have that disruptor for the next team fight.
Yeah, he's going to have to look for some kind of sneaky move with his stealth ability and just kind of try and pop out on the back line, not having that ultimate ability, although it might be up by the end of the fight and he might be able to clean up some kills with it. But back to what I was saying earlier, I really like that blue team was able to pick up this Terra and take it away from red team where they played it last game. Red team with this Baka and this Zhonghui providing so much AoE damage. I really think that someone like a Terra who can heal the entire team, or and as well provide a lot of extra damage for their team onto the enemy. I think that'll be really good and super beneficial in team fights for the rest of this game.
Making sure that takeaway works for them, and it's not one of those takeaways where it doesn't get into the hands of an accident theirs. As Legendary, the Regurgitate is popped. They really, really, really want to kill this Jormungandr, and with the Eagles rally, it didn't land a stun, but I mean, they had the chase down position to possibly find the kill, but no, Legendary, he has the help, and the volcanic eruption will be there. They find one, they find two. Now it's just Hakumba trying to clean things up, but he's only an RDO with no real damage, and it looks like the World Serpent won't land, so he'll have to run back out, but Legendary buying enough time for Daniel Perez to show up, and Daniel Perez makes Big Money Esports pay.
I actually have no idea how that went so well for Jorm. Somehow the Baka missed the majority of the slow onto the Jorm, which would have procced his passive, making him take 15% more damage. Also, Bologna completely whiffed the ult, and Jorm was able to outrun a Bologna and a Baka who both have movement speed boosts in their kit. Bided his time for the Pele rotation. Easy cleanup, double kill. Tons of damage coming out with the blue boots and the Stone of Binding. really great plays by Jorm there. And his ult was back up in case the Ardu tried to do anything cheeky. I have a feeling she wouldn't be able to kill the Jorm, but just in case he went ahead and popped it.
Yeah, let's just be honest. That's inexcusable if you're the side of big money esports. If you're not even the side, if you're Privative and Waddle, you gotta get that kill. He's the biggest character model in the game. How do you not hit your ultimates to lock him down? They'll at least pick up the Fury on the back end to compensate, but man, it has to hurt your ego when you can't hit the biggest character model in the game.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be rough for them, but really nice response there, keeping the gold lead even. They know that they messed up in solo, but they don't let it get to their heads. They go right to the Gold Fury. They secure it. Really great call. They all listened, and blue team should be able to answer back here with a pyro, no problem.
But I think they'll take that, as you said, if you're on this chaos side, they'll take that Fury. I don't recall if it was an Oni, if it was just a straight up Gold Fury. Either way, it's still good for you and your team. Definitely take it over a Pyromancer. As passing the 11-minute mark, it's 5-1. Venedicts Cavalry have the lead in the kill category, but the goalie is only 1,000. They have an experienced lead as well, so maybe that will be the real factor here in these later team fights. I mean, having an extra level over your opponent doesn't hurt, but King Neximus on his AMC it's an AMC, not mobile, can't really get out of that one, and falls to Privative and Conviction extremely early, especially after Conviction found that stun. So that allowed them to push this tower here in the left lane, and Venedicts Cavalry, they had to find a way to respond. Otherwise, that's just giving up free gold, and that's going to give the gold lead over to Big Money Esports.
Yeah, the last thing I would have wanted to be as an AMC into this Bakasura. Rough one on the side of Venedicts Cavalry. He is going to fall pretty easily. Hachiman having a lot of chase down, but over on the right side, Pele Jorm, I think, able to clean up Bologna on the backside and push some waves under tower, even strip away the blue buff. But I mean, a red team answering back with the tier 1 of their own and left. So right now, both teams probably just gonna be looking to farm. I'm guessing, next big fight is gonna be at the Gold Fury, and I have a feeling that the Soul Laners are gonna be making their rotations this time. This Jormungandr is 3-0. He's huge at this point. He has the breastplate online. I want to see him doing stuff to the enemy backline and causing trouble.
At this point in the game, it's all about the item advantages, all about the experience, as we said before, and he's using his own experience advantage to get that kill with the Pele, has a Stone of Binding, has the Breastplate of Valor as well. As King Neximus is going to fall down again to Conviction after he found that stun. Conviction talking about an item lead, using the fact that he's 2 items up, and all this AMC has is a Transcendence because he didn't go for the tank AMC build to completely destroy him in the 1v1. And now it's going to force rotations over from Venedicts Cavalry. Conviction might have overstayed in this side lane, but he does have help. Although the Earth and Fury and Volcanic Eruption follows through, there's 4 members of Big Money Esports here, and they're going to find a double.
Nah, Conviction played that perfectly. You could see that right away after he got the kill and pushed the wave. He started his back, but his team called him off. They said, hey, we know they're coming, but we're right behind them. He gets a great Aegis, immunes most of the damage. They find a tier 2 and another kill on top of the original AMC. Pele falls down. This sets them up super well for the next Gold Fury fight. If they get invades on these buffs, they're going to be in a perfect position. They could even look push down the tier 1 tower. They do have to be careful, though. Jorm just checked speed, and he is going to be lurking over to the mid lane here.
I was going to say, it honestly doesn't matter what your lead is if your Jormungandr, who's 2 levels up, really the biggest lead they have as far as gods that kind of matter as far as damage and carry, and he's the big disruptor. If he's not joining the team for when they actually go for fights and can do stuff, if he's stuck all the way in the solo lane, it doesn't matter because he's not contributing anything. It looked like he was about to rotate there from speed buff, but he ended up not doing so. He's once again on to Waddle, trying to prevent the blue buff from being stolen. I believe he did do just that, but again, if he's not joining the team, then I don't know how much this lead matters on this Jormungandr.
Yeah, I mean, we see that quite a bit. It's sometimes the issue is the rest of your team's already dead. What's the point in even rotating? But sometimes, yeah, a lot of soul laners will get this big lead and not make a huge use of it. Although, the only real time we would he should be going over there is something like a Gold Fury, which isn't up quite yet. So maybe he didn't feel the need to rotate. It might just be a miscommunication on the side of blue team, but red team in a great position now. They were down a little bit, but now they're up about 3K gold, or almost there. And I think this AMC is going to regret ever walking up to where he was. A little more damage from the Zhonghui, cleans it up.
Yeah, Pandamid pulled the spirits out of the bag, finds the kill, and when you invest so much time, hold that thought. Privative does fall to Lunar Tick, so that will be jungler for AD carry. That may at least stop the Fury from being taken. It is a primal, and it actually won't. They're still going to start it up. Dana Perez and Houseplant know this is going down. They're rotating over. It will also be the Terra trying to join them as well. Or not the Terra, he is Houseplant. Lunatic joining them as well. And they do push them off for now. But my earlier point being that when you invest so much time into this solo lane, you got to make something else happen around the map with that investment, because as you said, there's a 3,000 gold lead now on Big Money Esports. They're hitting item breakpoints. If you look, the Zhonghui already has a Spirit of the Magus and Divine Ruin and dealing so much damage compared to this 2-book Hera that's going to take a little bit of time to get her damage fully online. It just seems like Big Money Esports, despite how far they were behind early in the game as far as levels, items, they're hitting power breakpoints, and they're in a better position than Venedicts Cavalry is now because of that mismanaged use of time.
Yeah, and I think that play over on the left side would have been a lot cleaner if the Baka hadn't kind of suicided to Hera over there. She drops her ult on him and can't really outbox her. Hera had just so much peel between the transform on her too, as well as the knockup and the protection from her shield. So rough one for red team, but I think they're definitely going to take the fact that they're 2K up after losing so hard early in the game. And actually on the right side, in a 2v1 situation, Pele is going to fall down. And I think blue team needs to do something over here on the left side because they know they're going to be losing towers and right.
And they know that too. Legendary's trying to go on to Panda mid, but he has the sustain, and he has the ultimate backup as well if he needs to use it. There to help him turn around. He doesn't even have to pop that. The World Serpent comes through for the disruption. AMC is here to try and lay down that damage with just yet. But he has so much damage output because he doesn't have any pressure on him, and that will force Big Money Esports back for now. Neximus does walk forward. He has to be careful. Privative is still on the backside, but he's actually going to start rotating over deeper into the enemy jungle, actually, and back over toward this way to, I guess, potentially grab it, maybe waiting for a kill. He knows Neximus is rotating back over. He's found him in the jungle, and this could be a dead AMC. The damage is there, but Privative actually too low, gets smacked by Houseplant, and now that'll be a dead Bakasura, and that'll be Primal Fury started up for Venedicts Cavalry.
Yeah, it looks like they are going to burn down the Skull Fury here. It's at half. They do go ahead and secure it, although Hachi tried to drop a banner and get a little cheap deal. It wasn't going to happen. Yeah, I said that, blue team needed to try to do something while two of red team were on the other side of the map, and they made it happen. They got that Gold Fury. They're trying to even up the gold lead, although there still is a little bit of a lead for red team, but they have buffs up and things like that, so they should be able to even out this gold lead pretty soon. They need to keep doing that, and they need to start burning towers. That is a big issue. They can't leave these towers down. They need to keep up the farm, and they need to get these towers because their lead, or this comeback isn't going to happen if they don't start to look at objectives like they just did. They continue that, they'll be in a really good spot, but Pele in a little bit of trouble here.
And this is exactly why, because while you're starting to catch up in items, you don't have any sort of jungle presence or pressure, which means that Big Money Esports can do whatever the hell they want. Finding picks, which is now setting up this Pyromancer as Akuma's just trying to force Houseplant away. It will actually stop them from doing the Pyromancer for now, but Privative gonna go ahead and take that blue buff, and now this Bakasura is starting to take over all of your land. He said, you thought this was yours, but just like the British, they're just going to take everyone's land and call it theirs, plant a flag on it. Now Big Money Esports is starting to try and run away with this game. I do want to highlight this AMC's build very quickly, as it might impact later in the game, because he built that Witchblade. I like the adaptation, seeing as he has a Hachiman and a Bakasura to deal with, but I just don't know if it's too early, maybe too little too late, how effective it's going to be with the lead that Big Money Esports now has.
Yeah, I think I think their lead is still pretty good. We got a three. We got almost a no. It is a 3K lead. So yeah, I think they just need to be pressuring that lead. Although Lunartic's starting to get actually keeping up pretty well in farm, level 17 along with the Zhang Kui. The problem that red team is going to have is locking down this Hera, I think, along with the healing out of Terra. Hera just provides so much self-peel for herself with the shield and the transform, as well as the knockup with her ultimate. But hold that thought, Pele trying to make a play in the left lane, and Baka just kind of drops his ult for no reason.
Oh, Lunatic drops his ult for almost no reason. It will chase off, but it wasn't going to find a kill. It wasn't really there to prevent Privative. It looked like he was trying to actually find the aggression on the Privative, and now Pandamid joins Earth and there, the houseplant, it won't matter. Privative still finds the kill, even through all of it, and will have to run away for now. The ghosts are still out of the bag, but Pandamid did his job. Now Houseplant trying to position, because look at Legendary. He's come around the side. He has the World Serpent. He's found Pandamid, and he needs to find one more place to land. And he will land appropriately and find the kill onto the Zhang Kui and a knockup on to Hakumba. And the rest of Venedict's Cavalry is here to rejoin. Hakumba hasn't fallen just yet, but there is a Hera on the backside waiting to join in. He misses one ability. Houseplant might be the one to actually fall through, because Big Money Esports is finally here to respond, and Conviction picks up the kill, and now Legendary is stuck by himself, facing off against a Bologna and a Hachiman.
Yeah, blue team just staying way too long and not cleaning up any other kills other than the Zhang Kui there. I don't know if the Terra didn't have her dash or what, but could have easily cleaned up someone on the edge of that of her 3 there, and she just didn't dash. I don't know. I didn't see the timers if she didn't have it up or what, but she certainly wasn't crippled or anything like that. Red team's just able to respond because, that fight's basically all the way over at back camps, and they're actually going to pull fire now while Baka distracts him over at this blue buff. It's only about 75%. AMC and Pele could look to do something here. Pele does have her ultimate available. With a lot of sustain in that ult, she might be able to do something, but on the backside, she is going to clean up the Bakasura, but she's going to lose her life for it in the process.
Yeah, that damage tick from King Neximus did get that kill. But now he's the only one here to try and stop the Fire Giant, and a great Eagles rally for now. There's just not enough damage, though, to follow through. It's only Ardio and the Bologna here, while Pandamid and Conviction are just wailing away at this Fire Giant. But now look at the backside. Hera's joined with Argus, and she drops it right on top of Pandamid's head. It's a kill. Conviction has to run away, and this will actually set up a Fire Giant, possibly for Venedict's Cavalry, if they can win the fight. The Earth and Fury is there. Akumba still trying to space for his team. That will give Venedict's Cavalry enough heal to possibly keep this one going. And Argus still has the Fire Giant procced. Legendary still here. Waddle is doing his best. Can he steal is the question, and he cannot. And after all that, it's a turnaround. Big Money Esports misplays it, bungles it, mishandles it, and gets bamboozled. And Venedict's Cavalry will walk away with the kill and with the Fire Giant.
Yeah, red team, they just committed too much, or I should say they committed too many frontliners to that zoning. I think the Bologna could have easily kept out this AMC, who's, pretty far behind if looking about how this game was going. She could have definitely done that by herself, but Ardio stays as well. Both carries are tanking the Fire Giant, and what does Hera do? She just walks up and slaps down the Argus. Easy kill for her, and Argus actually stays on the Fire Giant, keeping it active the whole time, and buys enough time for the rest of blue team to show up and confirm that they would get the Fire Giant for the team. So this should be a pretty free Oni Fury, I think, over on the left side here for blue team. Seeing that Bologna is over in the right lane, it'll be a 5v4 in the favor of blue. And then they're going to start pushing out the towers. Like I said, they needed to start doing earlier.
And now they're going to try and go for this Oni Fury, and it looks like Big Money's actually... But can they escape? Pandamid once again will have the World Serpent pop on his head, and Luna cleans up the kill. It will be a 1-for-1 trade so far, and I think Big Money Esports will be satisfied with that if they can still escape. The Argus is thrown down. Conviction on the back end gets cleaned up by the big purple worm. And now Hakumba has to try and survive. He's taking so much damage from Argus, and King Neximus will claim that kill. And now Waddle has to try and escape. It's a 3v1 so far. Big Money Esports gets the Oni Fury, but they might have overstepped, as eventually the Bologna will fall. Venedict's Cavalry clean up the kills, but the question is, what can they get off of this next? Because look in the mid lane, it will be Privative pushing this wave and possibly looking for a tier 1 mid tower, or tier 2, I'm sorry.
Yeah, the problem is that Big Money Esports did get the Oni Fury, so none of these waves actually pushed in their favor. It's going to be really hard for them to get an objective. I do not think that they're going to push here. Jorm had to back stop the potential split from the Bakasura, and he does so. Bak actually backing to make sure that blue team doesn't go for a Phoenix steal there. If I'm blue team here, I'm just looking to back, clear out these Oni waves, start their push onto the tier 1. Need to get the rest of those towers so they can start pushing a Phoenix somewhere else.
And we're set for a banger, Sin4, because I honestly think while Venedicts Cavalry have shown that they have a better team fight, because they always seem to win the initial fight, I think for them to really get a foothold in this game, they have to secure the next fight with absolute domination. There cannot be any chance for BME to respond, because every single time the fight prolongs somehow, BME finds ways to create trades with Privative on his Bakasura, Waddle. If Panda mid survives long enough, Conviction is playing out of his mind, by the way, making sure to dodge a lot of this CC, a lot of this disruption, and make sure he can at least lay down some DPS. I mean, BME is giving him all their worth, despite his Cavalry having the seemingly upfront advantage in these fights.
Yeah, these fights have just been really sloppy, and I feel like we've seen this a lot today. It always looks like one team has the advantage over the other, and then someone just turns it around. But now blue team here in the middle lane, grouping up to push down this tier 1. Terra over on the left side actually electing to 1v1 this Bakasura in the jungle. I would say that's a pretty bad idea, but she kind of forced him out, so I guess no harm, no foul. And she does actually drop the Argus on him. She's trying to protect the ward is what she's doing. She wants to keep vision on that left side. The last thing you want is a Baka flanking you, but he's going to blink over mids, and he's going to do it anyway.
He tried at least, but he gets put down to half health, and there are more members on Big Money Esports being taken low as Daniel Perez throws down the burst damage, and with Legendary finds another kill. It was Conviction that fell this time around. Panda mid, though, does find one to return the favor, and now Daniel Perez is in the middle of 3. He's in trouble, but now Lunatic is trying to join on the backside. Houseplan is here as well, trying to lay down that CC, trying to get the heals over to his Pele, and they'll be able to escort her out for now. But hello, it's Privative. He picks up the auto attack kills. It looks like King Nexus was able to answer back onto the RDO, but now Bakasura takes out Houseplant, and Big Money Esports finds a way to even out the trade and make sure that they at least don't lose any more objectives. As King Nexus, what are you doing? Trying to take this Phoenix, and now he might be stuck out alone, but it is a very low Privative. He does eat up his camp to try and get some more health, and Waddle and Panda mid won't find the chase, so a 2v3, a 2-for-3 trade in favor of Venedicts Cavalry, but it had the desired effect if you're Big Money Esports because it stopped the aggression, it stopped more of your objectives from falling.
Yeah, that was a really great play by blue team. I said earlier I really like the Terra pickup for blue team here into the kind of AoE ultimates from red team, and you can see that on the tier 1, it did a lot of work there, keeping everybody alive. And the way Pele and Jorm dove together there, Pele just sustaining so much under the tier 2, while Jorm did a lot of damage, in his ultimate ability. That was honestly really great, and Pele almost made it out, except Baka just kind of rolled around the corner and said hello and cleaned that one up for himself. But now blue team in a really good position to fight at this fire giant, and I think that the next fire could be the game. This is upgraded fire now. With how team fights have going, they've been pretty back and forth, but there's always one like pretty well decided winner. I think if blue team doesn't stay too long and they get a clean fight, it should be good for them.
Now Panda mid may have been found by the World Serpent in a great. The Earth and Fury trying to follow through. The World Serpent might have led too deep, but he is extremely tanky on this Jormungandr, but he's getting destroyed, and he has no more ultimate to try get out, find the Serpent, and now be the first of Privative's Dark Harvest. And now they want to try and find a little bit more. Lunatic is on the side. He doesn't have the shield anymore. Waddle tries to dash back in, but there is no stun just yet. He doesn't have the ultimate. He's going to keep trying to run at this Hera, and all the stuns are missing too, so he's able to continue the chase. And he does have, I believe, a Witchblade was what I saw in his build, so he'll be able to completely run down this Hera and find a kill. And now it's King Nexus as well trying to escape, but a double stun from the RDO means that he might not be long for this world.
Yeah, he actually cleaned that one up with Thorns. That was pretty funny there. the sprint was so good out of red team. They just kind of ran through all of the Heresy C without an issue, getting past all the stuns. And now this Hachiman putting out so much damage. AMC actually almost dying to Obo, and in the mid lane, Zhangqi losing that fight to Pele. Red team doing a really good job coming back from a lot of the sloppy fights that they've had and winning that fight over at the Fire Giant. Conviction is going to go ahead and clean up this Pyromancer, and they're going to look for something onto the big Fire Giant.
And these charts it's different from what we usually see, because usually if you have a lead, you have a goal, I have to hold that thought because they've tried to find some more members of BME out alone. Legendary will pop the World Serpent, but it might not be enough to save Daniel Perez's life, as Conviction does clean up that kill, and now it's up to the Jormungandr trying to find his way out of this. He does do just that, but going back to those charts, seeing that the experience lead is in Big Money Esports' favor, and while the gold lead is still on Venedicts Cavalry's side, I think how small it was telling, because before that was a 3,000 gold lead in favor of Venedicts Cavalry that is now barely anything as we get later into this game, and that's got to be concerning for them, knowing that you're behind in experience, you're getting close to being even to behind in gold, and you're just losing your grip on this third game.
Yeah, for sure. Blue team looks like they just had it so strongly in the bag, winning all these fights, and now there's a late game Bakasura just getting to their backline for free, and they seem to be having a lot of trouble. This Jorm, he's to the point where his ult does a lot of disruption, but when he's getting caught out, they're throwing so much CC into him, and they have a late game Hunter. He's kind of just a sitting duck. So it's going to be really hard for them to do anything. I think one thing that blue team does have into their advantage, though, right now is this huge wave in left. And actually, hold that thought. Zhangqi in a really odd position over on the left side, actually standing on a ward, and his beads are forced out.
But it's a trap, as the Eagles rally was thrown down on a lunatic. Argus joins the fray, but Privative is here. He has all his 5 swords. He is the deadly samurai. Does fall to Daniel Perez, but brave. So it is a solo laner for a jungler so far. But right now, Big Money Esports on the retreat as the volcanic eruption is popped. But Conviction is trying to ward them away with his own auto attacks. So Big Money seeming a bit disjointed there. They went from EFG to trying to take the fight, and now they're on the run, as Hakumba might be the next to fall, which should open up this enhanced Fire Giant, possibly for Venedicts Cavalry to take.
I think blue team has to try something here. Oh no, they cannot, and I think they know it. Bologna teleporting back in on the backside. AMC just going to kind of run away. But really good on blue team, though. We were talking just a second ago about how they were kind of throwing away that lead, and they must have heard us, because they go ahead and go right back to their old ways, like the beginning of this game, and they turn that team fight in their favor. I mean, this is just classic Smite, right? The kind of gold, or not the gold period, the kind of Fire Giant dance, very back and forth. Eventually, someone will come out on top. It just depends on which one of these teams understands what's going wrong in the fights first, or gets a really big ultimate. I think that red team has the advantage with this Bakasura and Zhangqi damage. They should be able to just kind of negate anything that Terra's doing if they can get this Ankh off, but it just hasn't worked out that way quite yet.
Honestly, I think it's that Big Money Esports, they're just so fast. And I mean that in the case of if you're Venedicts Cavalry on this order side, that if you don't land all your damage and all your CC perfectly, then you have a Bologna, a Bakasura, both running at you with a RDO that can just cripple and slow you down so you can't run away. And they just set up the damage for Panda Mid and Conviction so well. So if you don't land all your CC right, if you don't get all your disruptions there, and you don't output all your damage, then Big Money Esports, they take these fights. But it's when Venedicts Cavalry is able to set up these fights, able to land everything, 100% of their entire kit and composition, they take these fights outright. And that's what happened in that last fight, is both teams, again, posturing around the Fire Giant. In the mid lane, both junglers trying to clear waves, and it looks like the Bakasura is winning that bit of split push action for now. He's actually going to try and get a little bit aggressive on that push, but not really find anything, as BME just trying to find some sort of positional advantage before they go for this objective, before they try and bait it again, because the last time they tried to bait it, it didn't work very well in their favor.
No, it did not, but red team looking to bait out the Fire Giant here, or maybe they're just looking to poke out this Jorm. I think, you know, they want to pick, they want to do something. Both junglers hovering in mid, taking the boxing. I think the Baka just stops with the split push and goes for the kind of engage that he was doing earlier. It seems to have been working out, and every time one of these teams goes for the split push, somebody else gets picked, and it just never seems to work out. A lot of damage onto the AMC here. He is going to be able to get under his tier 2 tower safely. Terra making sure of that, and Baka on the backside just chasing this Pele out. There's not much you can do.
But now the World Serpent is being popped by Legendary with Argus as well. They want... He has to... the horse to escape for now, and a Great Earthen maybe fight the Venedicts. Cavalry was looking... Daniel Perez finds Panda mid. Panda's been having a terrible game on this Zhonghui so far, and now Privative will fall for the double for the Pele, and now it's 3v5, and it looks like Big Money Esports has been routed, and all they can do is try and run. I don't think Legendary will be able to catch up with them for now. The cripple is there, so Akumba, if he has to, can sacrifice his life. But they're still going to try and look for it. The polymorph misses as well, but Daniel Perez on the side. He has the volcanic eruption. No, he doesn't. He just dashes in. Yes, he does. He did have the ultimate. He just waited to pop it, but that meant Conviction had enough time to kill off this Jormungandr, and while they will get the backs up, they might lose a turret, but they take out Legendary. He's the tankiest member they have still alive, except for Houseplan, and that might mean that keeps them from at least taking the enhanced fire, John, although they do get that tower.
Yeah, really great chase down there from blue team. They win that fight. I think red team committed a little too hard under that tier 2. And yes, I love this call from blue team here. They look to start of the pyre. No, they see the ward. Bologna is going to stop them. They have to go on her.
A great teleport from Wild does interrupt it. He might die. The Eagles rally being popped, but at least he kept them away from that enhanced fire giant and kept that objective from being taken, as Lunatic does get his back stopped. And I actually like that because that gives the rest of his team not only enough time to respawn, but to join. If he stops Lunatic from recalling, it means that he has to actually try and maybe stay, because this will give positional advantage over to Big Money Esports onto the EFG, as we actually has a pause from Lunatic here being stopped. Maybe he thought that, hey, that was a bug. I shouldn't have been stopped on my recall. What's going on? But regardless, we're 37 minutes in. You finally have a chance to slow down in all of this. It's 22-20. A very negligible goal lead at this point in the game. Everyone's leveled up. Everyone has items. Looking down the items list, I have to think that this Bakasura is more important than just split pushing and his engage, because he also has the Toxic Blade, and that along with the Bologna Pestilence, the Divine Ruin. They have just in so much healing mitigation that Venedicts Cavalry has to be careful, because now this Terra is doing near no healing at this point in the game.
Yeah, I really think the Baka should be going in with this Zhonghui, because Punkui seems to be making almost no impact with his ultimate ability, and I think the Terra healing is just a little too much for even his Divine Ruin. There needs to be some extra damage and some extra anti-heal in that fight. I would love to see them be going in together while the Ardio is peeling for the back line and the Bologna is also causing trouble, but it just hasn't seemed to be the case quite yet. But yeah, I would hate to see this Bakasura continue split push, but spoke too soon, because yet again, there he is in the left lane pushing up waves. The rest of the team's hovering around the fire giant, and Ardios stepping forward. It's so hard for them to do anything when these junglers are just hovering around in left, because the junglers are most of their engage. I think if blue team is going to do anything, this Jorm just needs to ult while both junglers are just doing their thing, because he can engage in the 4v4 and win the fight for them.
And now this might be the time that BME was waiting for. Pele had to deal with that splitting wave in the left lane, and now Legendary is being caught out by the rest of BME. He doesn't fall. He does have the World Serpent, but Privative is here on the backside starting to rotate. He does get pinged out by the Pele, so we'll be able to World Serpent away for now, but now he has the recall, and unless he has teleport, they can push down this tower and take it with no problem in a 4v5, and Bakasura is going to go back mid lane and pressure this mid lane tower as well. So this is great rotations coming out from Big Money Esports, a bit of late rotations coming out from Venedicts Cavalry, and it's working out in Chaos side's favor as they take one more tower, and now they're going to rotate toward mid and maybe even gold for you. They have so much to work with now that this rotation has happened.
Yeah, they got the nice tier 2 tower there, and tier 2 tower in mid might as well be gone. They do need to be careful. They have really good war presence. They actually have all 5 sentries down over on fire side. But a fight breaking out in mid, and Balloon gonna ult in, and this could be bad for blue.
She finds the backline, separates them away. That means no Big Money's still find Panda mid. How are they still finding this? Jean-Qui in everything. His positioning hasn't been the best in this match, and now King Neximus is laying damage into Hakumba. Argus might be able to finish it, and he will with the final double-handed slam, Dragon Ball Z style. And that means somehow, some way, Venedicts Cavalry win this fight 2-0, and now they're going to push mid for this Phoenix, but you got to watch out for Primitive. He's on the side. He's looking for the jump in. He doesn't have the regurgitate just yet, but he might have enough damage with his item kit alone to do something. It looks like he's instead going to go ahead and proxy the wave and keep the push from coming through. It's a smart play. I just don't know how far it's going to get them given the state of the game and the fact that he's caught out and might just fall here with the polymorph.
Yeah, he's definitely in a lot of trouble to this paleo, though. He will just jump over the wall and get away. It's really smart what the Bakasur is doing. He's proxying these waves so that blue team can't get them into the Phoenix for the extra damage with in-hands. Problem is how long can Bakasur do this safely before red team finds a way to, or blue team finds a way, to lock him down. Bologna all forced out there in defense of the Phoenix. Blue team going to fall back, realizing that they can't do this. Baka actually jumping over the side. Ultimate is good.
He hits the regurgitate, but he's going to fall instead. The spacing wasn't there. His team wasn't there to follow up, and Danny Perez picks up that kill, and they're still very healthy. Lunatic is going to go ahead and recall after a lucrative push by the side of Venedicts Cavalry, and the planning was there, and it was a good idea, but the execution was just not, and he jumps in without his team to back him up, especially no CC, because the Eagles rally was already used, and now it won't set them up for the Fire Giant. And I just don't think either of these teams are really going to try and touch it unless they get an absolute team wipe because it is enhanced. But Venedicts Cavalry is slowly but surely not running away with this game. I just took a look at the goal lead. But again, we said this late the goal lead is negligible. It's about the push, and they do have the push in their favor.
Yeah, both of these teams just kind of ignoring the Fire Giant at this point, seeing as none of these fights ever seem to go in their favor. Now they're just pushing. I think they just went out, but red team hovering around the Pyromancer. They're going to be able to drop this one, and blue team hopefully going to be able to get there in time.
And not for the Pyromancer. They're just going to rotate and kind of watch it go down, and I think Big Money Esports, I mean, buying time is great, but at this point in the game, everyone's fully built. You're not really buying time for much of anything. Sin, how do they win this game? Really, if you're Big Money Esports, it seems they've been routed so many times in these fights and have had so many poor engages. How do they win? I have to think it starts with Panda Mid not dying at the start of a fight, but maybe it's more than just that.
No, I think that's part of it. Also, I think one thing we haven't mentioned is that this RDO isn't really doing as much, or I don't know, she's not having the impact that I think an RDO could in this situation because she can't really dive with the Jean-Qui, so he's he's really left on his own, and since he's dying every time, he's not making the impact that he could. They need to find a way to get the Zhang and the Baka into the backline together, or the Baka and the Bologna, because and also I just realized, where is this Obshard on Jean-Qui? I don't know why mid laners hate Obshard, but the Jean-Qui can't get to the backline, and he's certainly not going to be killing any tanks in his face with no Obshard.
Well, on top of that, I mean, he picked up a Void Stone, which I get because you want to still get a little bit of health and tankiness under your belt, and still also get some sort of mitigation, some reduction on the magical protections, right? As you see right there. But it's not adding to his damage. I think a Rata Hootie on some of these low health targets that it seems like a lot of Venedicts Cavalry end up low health in these fights, but just don't end up being finished, as we get a pause here from Houseplant. But how can you finish them if you don't have any penetration? You don't have a Rata Hootie to do that extra damage. You're just kind of there, and especially if you die early, I mean, I don't really get it.
Yeah, I would have liked to see an Ob Shard by this point, and yeah, also a Rada Tahuti. I think the Void Stone is good in terms of him being a little tankier, able to survive the Jorm, the Hera, the Terra. But yeah, build not really working for me right now. I would like to see the Magus go for a Shard, and maybe he could even just sell his boots eventually for the Speed Pot and a Rada Tahuti, and that would really finish up the build nicely. Blue team actually looking to pressure out this mid Phoenix here, and wow, Baka getting chunked by the Hera there, and she's able to get away quite easily with the movement speed on her 3. Like we talked about earlier, they're just ignoring Fire Giant at this point. They want these Phoenixes. They want out. They want this W.
You have Daniel Perez waiting on the side, but I don't know if he's aware of his wave is at. It's so far behind, and proxying isn't really going to help that because of where it's positioned at currently. And so that will give Big Money Esports more time. You see the Bakasura trying to take some camps, trying to find ways to delay, and he's doing a very, very good job of it. If you're Privative, you have to give props to him just trying to do his best as a wave-clearing jungler to just try and make sure that there is no wave to push if you're Venedicts Cavalry. And, I mean, do you just, if you're Big Money, do you just wait for maybe Venedicts to get a little bit antsy and misposition, be a little bit too over-aggressive and find your moment?
Yeah, I think that's one thing that they could do. Because red team's comp is mostly engage, I think if they bait a really good fight onto, this Jorm who kind of sticks out, or this Hera who has a lot of self-peel and could maybe bait herself. And speaking of baits, hiding behind the wall, Jorm isn't stealth. They're looking for something. AMC actually the one to walk forward, and Hera gonna get not gonna get the best route, but Conviction actually forced beads, and Argus is chasing him down.
Argus is here, and now the World Serpent is going after Conviction. He does have to use the Horseman ultimate just to get out. One more World Serpent. Will he go into the rest of the team? No, he will not. He'll just use it to get back out, and this might set up a push in mid. They're going to lead in with Argus. Hakuma is still here with the cripple to try and slow them down for now while Conviction goes back to Fountain and heals up. Privative is on the side, clearing that wave as well on the Bakasura. So there's a lot of different aspects working in Big Money Esports' favor to stall out another push, because the ultimates were used a lot. And now the Regurgitate is here. The Eagles rally as well, and this may be the fight. Legendary has no ultimate. He's going extremely low. He'll find a way out, but barely, as the cripple isn't there to stop him in his place and stun him. Daniel Perez is still on the side. He has the Volcanic Eruption, so they have to be careful. The lightning damage would be tremendous with that knockup, could be what seals the deal, but the chase is following through for Big Money Esports. They smell blood in the water, and they're going to chase it through.
Primitive running down the middle lane here. Actually, really good blink onto the AMC. AMC ult off the mark. Terra throws the heal over the wall to try and do anything, and AMC is so fast, but not faster than that Bakasura, and that puts them in a really good spot. AMC dead for 70 seconds. If they can lock this Hera down, this is going to be so good. Hera gets forced out. Donkey maybe finally doing something, but no, this is all the Bakasura. He's doing everything in this fight. And on the backside, Daniel Perez in a little bit of trouble. He is Pele. He's going to be able to get out. He's so fast. But red team here, they got a wave in mid. They could burn this tier 2, and they could even burn down this Phoenix.
It is 60 seconds left on the Hera, 40 seconds left on this AMC, and the teleport comes in from Waddle as well. We said that they would just have to bide their time, that Big Money need to wait until there was over-aggression from Venedicts Cavalry, and that's exactly what they did. They're all extremely low. The Volcanic Lightning is there, but Conviction finds the kill, and now Daniel Perez is left all alone. 70 seconds on the Jormungandr, 30 seconds left on Lunatic, and everyone else are too far away from respawns. And this will be Big Money Esports once they take out this Pele, taking the series improbably after having to wait forever to come back.
Yeah, I mean, it was a long game, but by the end of it, you can tell that with how much work Baka put in, he definitely deserved the W there. Doing so much in the last fight. The Zhang Kui pick didn't really work out for them, but Panda Mid had definitely a stellar performance in the first 2 games to make up for it. I don't think it was the player, mainly the pick. He just wasn't able to do a lot, and maybe the build as well. So. But yeah, overall, great plays out of the Bakasura. Really some sloppy fights by both teams, but red team comes out on top.
And to be honest, I think this is the next maturation stage for Benedict's Cavalry. I mean, at this point, you're 2-8 now. Uh, you're 2-8, and you're not going to MSI. You're just working toward your record being good for the end of the season. You have time, and it looked like it was a team that knew exactly what their win conditions were. They just got a little bit antsy, and they didn't know how to deal with when we get this late and can't end, not getting nervous, not getting anxious, and still just playing slow and calm and finding that W. And that's the next step for this team to start taking wins against teams like Big Money, like Cyclone. I don't know about Nemesis, but maybe that's down the road somewhere too. But all in all, despite losing the series, this is a great start for them.
Yeah, for sure. They did a great showing here, and you know, when you see a record like that, most people would think. Most people, I think, go into it, and especially when there's one team that's really favored, they kind of expect them to stomp. But they did a great job here today, especially taking that first game so solidly with the ISIS Fafnir comp. So props to both teams, and congratulations to the winners.
Well, that's going to do it here for us. Thank you for watching the Smite Console League presented by Smite Prime. Want to give a shout out to, first of all, High Res Skill Shop for giving us a chance to do this. And also, we can't forget our observer, Jithins, for being there to give us the great angles, the great graphs, and putting us in the right position to make these calls. So until next time, we will see you around the bend.